Like this. Hit it.
The Roger Report live morning show. Weekdays at 9 a.m.
Say y'all, I was on Roger's panel a few times and I couldn't take it. The heat. I got out the kitchen. It was hot. I was sweating. I had to get out.
He's Roger, and he's right.
Check this out.
We can live or die. You choose. I have spoken to you a lot of times in hatred and anger, and you have not heard me. Well, you had better hear me today. If you won't listen to me when I make an appeal for the Negroes because you have no concern for the Negroes, listen to me when I make an appeal for America. You claim you love America. Well, we love America. But you are driving us back and you are making a Samson out of us, and we are going to pull down the pillars. And then you think we have no right to ask for something? Is it too much to ask you to grant us human dignity? Should we be put down and shot to death for this request? If so, you can aim your guns. What the hell do you think we care about dying if you're going to deny us the right to live?
Good morning, folks, and welcome to another edition of the Roger Report Live, the best show on social media. If you are new to the channel, go ahead and take a moment out to hit that like button, because this is where you're going to find the best content on social media, and you don't have to worry about it because you're going to have me right here to make sure that happens. And if you've already been coming to the channel for a while, then go ahead and hit that like button, because you already know what time it is, and you know that this is where you're going to get the best content on social media. It's not a mystery to you at this point. You've seen other people do it. You've even seen some people do it well. But what you have not seen is anyone do it quite the way I do it. So make sure you hit that like button. And everyone, yes, everyone, take a moment out to share the content, y'all. There are so many people who need to get great content like this, and it's just a small thing you can do to help the world be a better place. And isn't that what we want at the end of the day? Don't we want the world to be a better place? Of course we do. So share the content out. Share it through your social media. Share it through word of mouth, or even text someone's phone. But do what you got to do to help spread the word. And folks, we are back with another installment of a brilliant series called Unsupervised White People. And today on Unsupervised White People, we are going to be dealing with the good white kids of Columbine. Yes, y'all. The good white kids of Columbine. Some good white kids that changed a whole lot about America. That's what we're going to be dealing with today. But before we get too far into this, let's take a moment out real quick. Well, I got to take a moment out real quick and give some shout outs to certain people, because I got a shout out to all the people who come watch the channel on a regular basis, because y'all create the fam, and I appreciate y'all big time. Shout out to the people who hype me up every chance they get. Appreciate that. It new way to help, and you participate like that in you. Shout out to the people who leave comments after the stream. I definitely try to check the comments out, respond to people and things like that. You know, it might take me a day or two, but I do try. A shout out to all the people who hit that like button. You are helping me and all these things when it comes to this algorithm to help grow this channel and spread it around so people can see what, you know, they need great content. You're helping them see it. So shout out to each and every one of y'all. And shout out to the people who go above and beyond the call to duty and give financial contributions to the channel, because y'all allow me to do things I wouldn't be able to do without you. and allow me to put a better product out there for you. And I appreciate that big time. Appreciate that big time. And shout out to one of the people who given financial contributions to the stream, my main man, J Bones. He is the sponsor of today's stream. Shout out to you, my brother. Shout out to you, my brother. Shout out to you. Thank you very much for all you do. All right, folks, we about to get into this, but first I'm going to just give a couple shout outs to some of the first people who checked in this morning, because it's always great that when you start a show to have a person or two checking in, y'all. And y'all know how I go around these parts. There can only be one. So shout out to the Highlander of today's stream. My main man, Hot Sauce, is in the building. Shout out to you, my brother. Shout out to you. Glad to see you here. Glad to see you here. We got Inspired Truth Broadcast in the house. Shout out to you, my brother. Tunnel Runner is in the building. Good to see you. Good to see you. Trail Bentley has pulled up a seat at the cool table, representing like he always does. Hashtag Long Live the Habitual Line Steppers. Hashtag Negroes in the Wilderness. Hashtag Dignity Over Vagina. Hashtag Al Gore's Babies. Hashtag Hell Hydra. Shout out to you, my brother. Shout out to you. My main man, Brooklyn Finest, is in the building. What's good, brother? Glad to see you. Glad to see you. All my hoes, the monetizers at the cool table. Shout out to you, brother. Shout out to you. Afro Merchant is in the building. What's good? What's good? Bucket is here. Glad to see you. Glad to see you. And we got Sarah B here as well. Woo! It's gonna be a good show, y'all. It's gonna be a good show. You know, we got y'all, where do you start with a show like this one, y'all? You know, now it would have been great to be doing unsupervised white people at the time this went down. Now, this we taking a look back, y'all, because this happened in April 1999, y'all. April of 1999, when you had Eric and Dylan. Okay, Eric and Dylan, two quote unquote good kids. You know, small American town, Littleton. Okay, good backgrounds, moms, dads in the homes. You know, not a lot of suffrage going on in their backgrounds. Not from what was reported about them. These are not struggling kids, y'all. These are not kids that had to eat a syrup sandwich. These are not kids that didn't know where food was going to end up or where their next meal was going to come from. Okay, these are not these people. These are different type of people. These white people that got it. Okay, these white people they got not rich, but they definitely got it. But before I go too far, let me say shout out to all my hosts, the monetized, because I do appreciate him getting me off to the good start. He says, "Oh Lord, this better be a good show, Roger, brother. That's all I do is win, brother. Okay, all I do is win, brother. Now, you know what? I'm gonna say this to you. It might not be a good show. Unfortunately, if you're just looking for a good show, you at the wrong channel. This show here might be fantastic. This show here might be great. This show here might be mind-blowing. But good, oh, that's the least of our worries. That's the least of our. We gonna automatically do that. Good is just come with the territory. That's what good do. Good just come with the territory. But I appreciate that, my brother. I appreciate that. Good just simply comes with the territory. We gonna do that. That we gonna do, y'all. And we are going to take a look back to something that literally changed America, y'all. Literally changed America. Remember, y'all, this is April of 1999. Now, we are in March of 2026. Okay, we are March of 2026. So it's been a little while. April's coming up as the next month. It's been a little while. But we in 2026, y'all. Okay? This happened in 99. So this is a couple decades ago. This is how a lot of things changed in America. We got these quote unquote good white kids who were not struggling. Okay. They knew where their next meal was coming from. Never had to worry about the things that they say will produce kids in a bad situation. They had to go through none of that. You got Eric, you got Dylan, and they lived a pretty good life. Now, the thing is, as Eric and Dylan lived this pretty good life, at some point in time, they decided they want to kill some people. Okay? That's what they decided. You know what? We got some decent homes. We got access to computers. Y'all keep in mind, this is 99. Okay? This is 99. Shout out to all my hosts to monetize. He say hashtag refund if the show not great. Bro, you ain't got nothing to worry about. You ain't got nothing to worry about on this one. I am pretty sure this is going to be another great and stellar show. You ain't got nothing to worry about. And that's real talk. Nothing. Nothing. Okay. Now, first of all, I'm going to say, yeah, I'm going to give condolences to everyone who lost somebody at Columbine. Because a teacher was killed. You know, they say 13 students got killed. You know, now Eric and Dylan killed themselves, but, you know, they got parents. So, you know, my condolences again to the parents. And I know people have probably worked through this by this time. It's, you know, they've had time enough to work through it. I don't know what people personal situations is, but they've had some time to work through it. And even if you're a father and mother of some monsters, you know, it still hurts you to lose your child. So, you know, it is what it is on that note. So still condolences even to their parents. You know, it doesn't stop that child from being monsters, but you know, you don't want to see your kid that way. And it probably hurts you to know that your kids were, I mean, at least based on the perception of America, you probably had two of the worst kids ever. And that's got to be tough for parents, y'all. They probably had two of the worst kids ever. All right. Now, I know some people may say, well, that's kind of unfair. Well, tell the other 13 sets of parents, okay, that is unfair. Tell that teacher who lost, I don't remember if it was a man or a woman, but tell that teacher that lost their life, whether it was a male or a female, tell maybe their wife or their husband, okay? I don't know if you get quite the same answer. I don't know if you get quite the same answer. We got, shout out to Computer Geek. He says, entitled kids who are looking for attention, in my opinion. I'm not going to say that wasn't wrong. Okay, that could definitely be in the midst of it because it's not like these people come from some struggling inner city lifestyle. Okay, they were basically good. Okay, they were good in different senses of the words being good. They were quote unquote good. I mean, no one saw anything from them that really made anyone do something about it. I mean, they gave a little thing about how you could start to see certain signs going up, but it wasn't enough for anybody to do anything about. Eric and Dylan were a couple of kids who wanted to make a big impact. Now, these gentlemen were just weeks away from graduation. And I guess they just simply accepted that high school is the most fun time in people's lives. And they did not go through the trouble to figure out if that's true or not. They just accepted it must be true. So if this is as good as it's going to get, I don't want to see the rest of it. You know? If this is as good as it's going to get, I'm straight. I'm straight. Now, looking back into the story, because, you know, we had a lot of folks that, I mean, a lot of time has gone past. A lot of time has gone past. Now, shout out to Afro Merger. He said one of the 26 victims shot, died February 16, 2025 of sepsis and complications from her paralysis. Her death has been ruled a homicide. Wow. That was just in 2025. February 16th, just slightly over a year ago. Yeah, that's how much impact that it had. Killing people still to this day. And that's something else. That's something else. Okay. Now, y'all, this is the thing. They had all the opportunities they needed to be good kids. They were basically perceived as good kids. Now, I put a link in the description. I'm sure people have saw the link that's in the description. Let's not get this twisted, y'all. These were seen as good kids. Now, after the fact, you say, well, we saw this and we saw this. Now this is after they went out and killed people. This is after they went out and killed themselves. Neither one of them were any type of special program that was presented to help them because they were quote unquote troubled teenagers. So these were seen as good kids. That's what it was. They doing what they supposed to do. Their graduation is in front of them, and they're gonna go out into the world, establish themselves, and keep white America going. Obviously, there was a glitch some kind of way. Okay, there was a glitch some kind of way. And with this glitch, people had to die. It's that simple at the end of the day. That simple. Now, I'm seeing something about the total deaths. I see the question being asked about the total deaths. Now, remember, the video that I saw just said about, it did say of the people that were in the school, one teacher. Okay, that's a person who was in the school. It said, them two who killed themselves, and then 13 of the students. That's what's in the school. But we do got something called Google. Okay. And it give you answers right away. So I'm gonna just simply look it up. How many people died in the Columbine incident? Okay. Just so we'll know beyond a shadow of a doubt, because time has went on, and of course people kind of know what this information is at this particular point. So how many people died at Columbine? Okay. Now, this is the thing, y'all. Now, I've told y'all before, white folks, I deal with them kind of more of a personal level. I can know who you are and kind of see who you are as a person if I spend some time around you. But collectively, I've said many times that white people like to kill, steal, and destroy. I know some people don't really believe that, or maybe y'all think I'm being over the top, whatever the case is. Doesn't make any difference. But this seems to be who they are. It's their reputation. They like to kill, steal, and destroy. And Eric and Dylan was just some young white men. Well, maybe they was white boys. They could have technically been 17 before they killed themselves. They was getting close to graduation, so we know if they hadn't made 18 yet, they were on their way to it. Okay. And at the end of the day, unfortunately, this is how a lot of white folks get down. Okay, this is how a lot of white folks get down. All right. Now, according to the internet, y'all, it says victims 13, 12 students and one teacher. Perpetrators 2, Eric Ellis and Dylan Clayboy. Okay. Total deaths 15 in 1999, plus 1 in 2025. Now the injuries, y'all, you got there's 23 that was injured. Okay, 23 that was injured during that incident, and 20 of those injuries came by gunfire. So, these two guys were able to kill themselves. Plus, they killed 13 other people. And, injuries could be caused in incidents because, people are rushing, people are running, things like that are happening. But at the end of the day, you still got 20 other people who were literally harmed by gunfire. All right. So they inflicted issues literally by a gun on 33 people. These good white kids. Okay. These good white kids. Okay. Uh, Shout out to Jerome Payne. He say, "What do you mean, Roger? Unsupervised white people are the most peaceful people." I guess. I mean, if you look at the fact that they only use gunfire to hurt 33 people, you know. Now I'm gonna say this. Now, according to the video, they studied the cafeteria. Keep in mind, they was trying to start out with 450 people dying. That's where they wanted to start. They wanted to start with 450 people dying. They only started shooting people the way they was doing it because the bomb that they tried to set up to go off wouldn't go off. Okay. Now, see, if they had a little supervision while putting that bomb together, who knows how this would have happened. Okay. Now, let's keep it real, y'all. There was a pre-Columbine and then there was an after Columbine. America said, we're going to have to make some adjustments because we got white kids in good neighborhoods doing pretty well for themselves, or at least their parents are doing pretty well for themselves. And they want to be killers too. Y'all keep in mind, 450 was the target. They was going for 450. They wanted the bombs to go off in the cafeteria so they can kill about 450 people. That's what they were looking to do. Okay? That's what they were looking to do. Now, unfortunately for them, in their perspective, they was only able to shoot 33 people. But they was looking to take out 450 people. And they said in the video about, they want to control their own life. They never had a plan of going home. They were supposed to be in the school, at the cafeteria. Boom, bomb goes off. They gone too. They never had a plan to go home. All right? They was just trying to make the biggest impact they could on the way out the door. Now, do I feel bad for certain white parents who sent their kid to school and you thought it was a regular day? You thought everything was going to be all right? And y'all got to let's think about this from that white person perspective. You live in a nice area, okay? You live in a nice area. You don't have these type of problems. Why? Because those are nigger problems. Going to school and getting shot, those are nigger problems. We ain't got to worry about that. We done pretty much separate ourselves from them niggas. Now, as they said in the video, wasn't that many black folks that went to that school. Now, some racism was going on because they said, hey, we got us a nigga here. We got us a nigga. So they went through the effort to take out a nigga. Hardly no black people go to the school, but they had to make sure they got that nigga. So I'm going to say that tells you what kind of people they were at the end of the day. We ain't hardly got no black people to kill, but we going to give special attention to some nigga that ain't did nothing to us. That's what we going to do. We going to give special attention. And see, I told y'all before, if you grow up in America, okay, you go to public schools, you watch television, regular old TV, you watch movies, you read magazines, books. All these things have white supremacy flowing in them. You consume this stuff, the white supremacy is in you. It's got to come out you somewhere. Now, fortunately, a lot of black men start making adjustments on this white supremacy training because it's geared at us. And a lot of people don't want to believe it's geared at black men. But look at that one guy. I think his name was, I think it was Isaac, if I remember correctly. Young black man just going to school, trying to better himself. But what did they do? Hey, we got us a nigga here. Let's get him especially. You know? Now, let's be realistic. Do you think the black guy was bullying these guys? Because the excuse has been made that Eric and Dylan was being bullied. Eric and Dylan may have been in depression. Okay? They didn't know how to cope with their situation. Now, one gentleman in the video just says flat out, hey, this one here, no, he moving like a psychopath. I think he right. Because let's think about this, y'all. To really have a concept that we're gonna go to the high school we go to, and we're gonna try to kill at least 450 people. We gonna blow up the cafeteria. I mean, literally, they attempted to blow up the cafeteria. This sounds like a plot from a movie, man. This sounds like, I don't know, maybe a Batman movie or something. These dudes are trying to cause all kinds of harm in a way that people just won't know how to respond. They trying to bring a tragic stain on, if you ask me, the entire town. They wanted to do something that the town would not be able to forget even for one day. I believe they were trying to do something where the people who were alive at that moment would not be able to move on. Who comes up with a plan to blow up a school in real life, y'all? Not go to the school and shoot some people. Now, we know they have obviously inspired some people to go to school and shoot up other students. They've clearly inspired other people to do that. Okay? But who plans to blow up the cafeteria? You want to kill the students at one of the best parts of the day? That's cold-blooded. You know? Now, I don't know about y'all, but I used to look forward to lunch, okay? I used to look forward to that. I don't care what year it was, freshman year, sophomore year, junior year, senior year, I look forward to it. All right? It was fun while I was. And the thing is, these guys, I mean, what do we want to accept, y'all? What do we want to accept? Because you can accept that maybe somebody talked about them a little bit here or there. Maybe somebody insulted them here or there. But last time I checked, ain't nobody going to high school and coming out unscathed. Who does that? Who goes into high school and never get talked about at all? Who goes to high school and never gets quote unquote bullied at all? Who ain't having some comments said, but I don't care if you supposed to be the coolest student amongst the boys. I don't care if you the most beautiful girl amongst the girls. Ain't nobody going to high school and ain't having nothing said about them. And truth be told, the chance that you can make it through high school all 4 years without somebody telling you something about yourself that you're not going to like to your face, that's just crazy work. I don't believe that for a second. Now, I understand they done made some movies out there, and they got movies with people in high school, and they act like this one particular person is either a queen or a king of their actual school. That is not real life. Those are movies. So somebody talks about these little kids, and all of a sudden they want to kill everybody. All right. Shout out to Kunguru. He said them folks love. Hold on. Them folks love, and he said something and chaos so much. I guess I'm gonna throw drama in there. Let you correct me. You know, they love drama and chaos so much. I think that's where you're going. He said they decided to share that gift with everybody. Oh, okay. Now I think you might have said they love. I think you were going with they love death and chaos so much. They decided to share that gift with everybody. I think that's where you were going. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's where you were going. Shout out to you, Kangaroo. Appreciate you very much, my brother. Appreciate you very much. And I think you are 100% correct if that's where you were going. Okay. 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 He said violence. Okay. They love violence was the other word. Violence was the other. They love violence and chaos so much. They decided to share that gift with everybody. And you know what? That seemed like a white person thing to do. Now, I'm going to say this, y'all. Because I do know I got a couple white folks that tune in on a regular basis. This is not me trying to just say something about white people for the sake of saying something about white people. That's not what I do. Okay, that is not what I do. I'm just giving my real beliefs about white people. I think white people like killing people. I think white people like to kill, steal, and destroy. That's who y'all are as a group to me. That's why I prefer dealing with white individuals. Okay. Shout out to the individuals I come into contact with, but as a group, now I don't really want to do nothing with white people as a group. I mean, if I'm getting paid, don't get me wrong, I'll do the job. I'll perform well, all that type of stuff. I do what I'm supposed to do. But hanging out with white folks, yeah, I kind of steer clear from stuff like that because they just go too far. They feel a little too free. I'm just gonna say that they feel a little too free. They too free for me. Okay, I ain't mad at them, but they just a little too free for me. And I do think them being white in America has something to do with how these particular gentlemen decided to deal with the end of their own lives. Hey, we white. Yeah, we in a small town. People should like us. Okay? People should like us. And if they don't like us, it's something wrong with them. And they mean it for real. Okay? And they gonna correct you. Either you gonna like them or you gonna die. That's what they was on. That's what they was on. You gotta like me. And if you don't like me, you should be dead. I do think there was a huge spirit of entitlement with them. Now I understand people saying that, unrecognized depression. Maybe. How do you become depressed when you live in such a good life, though? That's my question. How do you become depressed when you live such a good life? Shout out to Afro Merchant. He said, Roger, you're not trying to be the only black guy on a camping trip? You wrong, bro. Hey. Hey, man. No, straight up. And no, I'm right. It has helped keep me alive. That's real talk. It has helped keep me alive, okay? Now, I am not finna sit here on social media and tell y'all, because some of y'all got white friends and y'all hang out with them and things like that. I am not finna sit here and tell you that's a bad thing, that you can't kick it with your peoples. But I do personally believe that you're supposed to make sure if you do hang out with some white people, just make sure they cool, and don't just brush it off like they somebody else. No, you make sure they good. Make sure they good. Okay? Make sure they good. I cannot tell you ain't no good white people out there, y'all. I can't tell you that. I just don't like going through a whole lot of trouble to figure out which ones are which. So, just make sure you're good if you go on the camping trip with them or something like that. Now, me personally, the only black guy to go on the camping trip with him, you know what? I'm going to say Afro Merchant is correct. He's wrong because I'm not going to be the only guy who went off on a camping trip with them. If somebody tell you that I was the only black guy that went to camp with some white folks, y'all already know they set me up because that's something Roger ain't doing. Roger ain't doing. I love everybody. God say I got to love everybody. It's a requirement for me to love everybody, and I do. But I don't love you enough to go on the camping trip. I'll be the only black guy. That's real talk, And I feel bad for that one black student who ended up going to school with these white folks, because I know why a lot of these situations happen. Normally it's some black family trying to get in a better situation. They try to get their kids to go to schools funded for white kids so they can have better access to education. That's usually what it be. They want better access to education. And unfortunately, and a lot of times for them to get better access to education, they got to send their kids to school with white kids. And, trying to better yourself, look what happened. Some white kids go through the trouble of shooting the black kid who I bet money ain't never bothered them ever. Now, there's a lot of people who are not going to want to accept the racism part of this. Now, I do believe there was some racism going on. And at the end of the day, when they had a chance to express that racism before they killed themselves, they took an opportunity out to do so. Because let's be realistic, y'all. If you are in a school causing this kind of trouble, you don't ever plan on going home. You plan on dying before the day is over with. You in the school full of white people. Why make a special effort to kill the black guy? Okay? Why make a special effort to kill the black guy? Don't really make sense, do it? Now, I'm going to say this. I've heard about it before. Y'all know this Columbine incident happened on April 20th of 1999. And I told y'all before, I don't really buy into the whole coincidence thing. I really don't. Okay, I really don't. Now, based on some information that I've gotten over the years, somebody took notice of something. They said these two young men bought heavily into evolution up to the point that, there is no higher power, there is no God. They were more comfortable with an atheist point of view. Now, I'm not saying people can't think that way. I'm just saying what's been presented to me. Okay. And they were fans of different things, including Hitler. Y'all, they were actually fans of Hitler. And even though people probably didn't pay much attention to it at the time, I mean, graduation was around the corner. Prom had already passed. Bronx saying it right now in the chat. He's saying it right now. He see where I'm going. Okay, he see where I'm going. Shout out to Bronx. He said they did it on April 20th, which is Hitler's birthday. They definitely had a racial motive behind it as well. Now, we can pretend that these guys weren't racist. We can pretend that this was just some form of depression. We can pretend that they just wanted some get back. But why would you do this on Hitler's birthday? Okay. Now, people may say, no, that can't be true, Roger. No, Hitler was born April 20th, 1889. Okay. That's when Hitler was born. April 20th, 1889. Now, this is just how they wanted to get down, y'all. It's just how they wanted to get down. Now, I'm going to say this. I remember when Columbine was happening, man. I remember the news was all over this one. It was a regular day, y'all. That's what I remember. It was a regular day. Next thing you know, it was some kids shooting up a school. That's what I remember, y'all. Some kids were shooting up a school. What? That's what I'm thinking. What kid shoots up the school? Now, the thing is, as I'm hearing about this stuff, I'm not hearing that it's like a conflict of two different students or even two different groups of students. There's no conflict that's being dealt with. Okay? Shout out to Shark Center. He said, did any brothers get shot? Yes, a brother did get shot. They specifically saw a black guy. I believe his name was Isaac. And they said, we got us a nigga here. And they made sure Isaac wasn't going to make it out. So, yeah, brothers did get shot. At least one brother was shot. Now, as I heard this stuff on the news, right? Because I remember when this happened, okay? I'm like, kids shooting up a school. But they didn't say it was like a kid shooting at some particular person. They didn't say it was a group of kids shooting at some other group of kids. So I'm sitting there like, oh, this got to be some white people. Okay? That's what I was like. Oh, this got to be some white people. They shooting up random kids. So, I turn on the news and whatnot. Why? I'm interested in the story. Okay? I'm interested in the story. And then I get my confirmation that a couple kids just came into a school and started shooting up the kids. Now I knew instantly this had to be some white kids. Now people may say, well, Rod, how could you know that? It was like the first time we ever really had a school shooting like this. How would you know they white kids? I mean, I just look at what white people do. Who's more than likely to just go into a school and just kill up random kids? I mean, yeah, that sounds like some white people stuff. Just is what it is on that note, y'all. It just sounds like some white people stuff. That's how it came across to me. Now, I'm not saying you was wrong if you didn't catch it that way when you first heard about it, but that's what it was to me, okay? Shark Sim says, this was the first case of FAFO. I don't know, man. I don't know. Okay. Now that might technically be a real thing. That might technically be a real thing. Shout out to Sarah B. Even she say no lies detected. Okay, she say no lies detected. Yeah, because if I would have heard that a student was like going after a particular student, okay, I could see some black folks might have been on that. You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna act like black folks ain't never tried to get revenge at no time. No, that could be a black. Going to the school though, we don't really like to shoot in the school. I'll say that. We as black people, we don't really like to shoot in the school. Even as kids, we understand that's taking on a lot of extra weight when you do your shootings at the school. That's taking a lot of extra weight on. But obviously, for white students, that school don't really mean much. Okay, that school don't really mean much because even up to this point, even though it's been so many years later, I mean, we head toward 30 years. I mean, this was 99, so we really finna get to what 27 years that this has happened. Coming up soon, it'll be over 27 years that this has happened. Yeah, white kids, they don't want to seem to feel comfortable taking guns to school. Okay, black kids, we don't really feel that comfortable. We don't feel that comfortable taking guns to the school. All right. We trying to have that extra. We really trying to have that. If we take a gun to the school, we try to make sure don't nobody find out about that gun. But I guess these white kids, they're a little bolder. But when you feel like it's your country, okay, when you feel that way, when you feel like nobody should be able to tell you what to do, when you feel like you always right no matter what, when you feel like everybody should fix everything for you, it makes sense to me. You don't have to live with a certain level of accountability, so you just do what you want. And you don't care who gets hurt. Now, that is one thing I can say about white people. They really don't care who gets hurt. When they got their mindset on something, they doing it. You can feel some type of way, they don't even care. It don't bother them none. And the media did somewhat of a job trying to somehow make them be victims some kind of way. Okay? Some kind of way they were trying to make them be victims. Matter of fact, he goes super chat that was illustrating that right there. Shout out to Bad Black Gamer. He says, you know they blame the Matrix movie for this, as if in the movie The Matrix, it was about killing students at school. Now, what did The Matrix have to do with this movie? Well, the actual culprits they dressed in black. The most The Matrix did for them was give them a style to go out in. I give it that. It gave them a style to go out in. Because keep in mind, y'all, now people was trying to, and people weren't really trying to do things like that. They were trying to make up all kinds of excuses why these quote unquote good white kids would turn into these terrible people. And everybody done ignored all this stuff over time so they can get exactly into the position they was in. But remember, y'all, there was not a plan to shoot up the school. Now, did they dress like a certain scene in the Matrix? Yeah, they dressed that way, but that was just fashion. There was no plan to truly go in and shoot up the school. The plan was shoot a little bit up and so we can get the bomb to go off. That was the actual plan. We wanted to take out at least about 450 students because they saw that about 450 students will be in that cafeteria on a regular basis once that cafeteria gets started. And that's what they came to do. You know, now, did they want extra students beside people in the cafeteria? Of course they did. So they was looking to kill at least 500 people, I would estimate. You know, we get that cafeteria going, we probably get us a good 500 people. We take some guns with us just to get a couple people on the way in. If it don't come off exactly the way we want it to come out, we'll shoot a couple more folks on the way out. But what we gonna do is kill about 500 people. We gonna make sure everybody know our name. Think about that, y'all. They even tried to give them a nickname. I remember the trench coat mafia flying around. What no mafia? This is two students, y'all. This is two white kids who are living a fairly good life. This is two white kids who have no trouble about living in the quote unquote inner city. This is two white kids that don't have to worry about where their next meal is coming from. These are two white kids whose parents got them straight. They're not struggling. They're not dealing with job losses and things like that. So we got to ask, what would set these guys off? Why would they do all this stuff? Now, again, y'all, people say, well, you know what? The kids were bullied. Now, I'm going to take notice that they never gave any level of bullying where you would look at them and say, oh, that I could understand they went too far. They say they were bullied, right? My question is, how were they bullied? Because somebody getting called a name here or there, that ain't real bullying. I never heard about what they were kept from. I didn't hear about that. Now, maybe y'all had heard something over the years that I didn't hear, but I never heard about what the kids kept them from. Because they throw a term out like bullying, but what's bullying? Bullying is when you treat a group of people a certain way with negative repercussions. You beat them up on a regular basis. You deny them from being able to get certain things. Like a bully could stop a guy from coming to get his own lunch. You make him scared to go to the lunchroom, or you take his lunches all the time. Okay, that's bullying. All right. A kid come to school with some lunch money and you take their lunch money from them. Okay, that's bullying. All right. They wait for you to come to school, then they de-pants you every day in front of a crowd. That's bullying. Now, I've never really heard how they got bullied. They threw the word around But they really didn't tell us anything about, or at least as far as I'm concerned, they never really told me about how they were truly bullied. Nobody pointed out the thing and this aggression that other students had against them that put them in a uncomfortable situation on a regular basis. Because let's keep it real, y'all. You go to school 5 days a week. If they were getting bullied to the point where they want to kill somebody because they were getting bullied, then something should have been said about it. Now, I understand they say, especially the guy right at the end of the little, I guess, documentary that I put in there. Well, when you complain that kids are bullying you and don't nobody do nothing about it, you get mad at everybody. Now, I'm going to say his statement alone was a very, very, very interesting statement. Okay. Shout out to Shark. Shark down there hating. He said, do remember Roger has his own version of the dictionary. Now, I'm just keeping it real, bro. I'm just keeping it real. Okay, if you're telling me somebody got bullied, you should be able to tell me these horrible things that was going on with them on a regular basis, which wasn't clearly explained. Getting called a name is not being bullied. Okay, that is not being bullied. All right, I don't remember how they were bullied. All right. Shout out to Jerome Payne. He said, I went to a well-off suburban white high school. Man, the ish I seen. More kids coming to class higher than a giraffe. Okay, I ain't gonna say well, he meant higher than a giraffe pussy, which is what it is. He say lying and stealing more than any brother I ever seen. For real, for real. And see, that makes sense to me. Because that's how I know a lot of white people. That's how I know white people to operate. Okay, that's what I know on how white people operate. I'm just saying. All right. So when you tell me a story like that, you went to a white high school and they was high on a regular basis. No, they ain't really high because they probably could afford the good stuff. They could afford the good stuff. And they just stealing for the sake of stealing. Yeah, that sound like white people. The ones I know about, that definitely sound like white people. Okay. Shout out to Jerome Payne. He said hashtag Brad Jr. is no angel. And I agree with that. I've never expected these folks to be angels. Okay. What I do expect for, though, is for them to be entitled. And to me, it just looks like you had a case where you had two kids who wanted to run things. Now, everybody can't be the big dog on campus. Everybody can't be that. And I think they just was a little unsatisfied that they're not the big dogs on campus. Now, there's a better way to become the big dog on campus. And y'all might say, well, Roger, why would they do that but only kill so many students? Remember, y'all, the plan was to kill at least 450 people. Their plan was not executed the way they wanted it to be executed. Okay? It was not executed the way they wanted. All right? They probably really want about 500 students dead, but they planned for at least 450. All right? So when it comes down to it, people do what they want to do. They did what they wanted to do. And keep in mind, y'all, they took time out to get on the internet, research stuff, order these different things. They had pipe bombs and all this type of stuff. So they was ordering stuff so they could put little bombs together. All right. When they was out shooting at folks, they were throwing bombs too. You heard the guy say, the guy who unfortunately was paralyzed. Yeah, I was stuck there. I heard the booms. Yeah, I heard them shooting and whatnot. Then I heard the booms because they was throwing these little pipe bombs around. These guys weren't playing. Okay. These guys were not playing. They wanted to hurt a lot of people. And that's why I believe they wanted to take their place, which I believe they believe their proper place was the head of the student body. Okay? They believe they should be the leaders of their high school class. Okay? And, since they weren't valedictorian, okay, since they weren't maybe like a president of the student body or something or whatever, they was going to make it known that they run this thing. This is our class. Everybody else is behind us. Okay? Everybody else is behind us. Now, whether we get to the top by hook or crook, don't you worry about that. All right? By hook or crook, it don't make no difference. Now, Eric Harris, y'all, he was 18. Okay? It says he was born April 9th, 1981. Now, Dylan was still 17 because his birthday was believe it or not, y'all, September 11th. Ain't that about nothing? Ain't that about nothing? His birthday was literally September 11th. And I was just going to say, it was a lot of talk about these two till September 11th happened. And one of them happened to be born on September 11th. Now, I ain't no conspiracy theorist, but I also don't believe in coincidence. That's an interesting date. That's all I'm going to say, y'all. That's an interesting date. So one had not made it to 18, but his birthday was on September 11th. That's something else. And shout out to Jerome Payne. He says, Roger, do you know who my dad is? Says Brad Jr. And you know what? I think that was the very attitude that got them going in this direction, because at the end of the day, you were amongst a bunch of white kids. And I think this probably did turn into what people would call a dick measuring contest. Or maybe in this specific case, a dad measuring contest. Do you know who my dad is? Well, other white student could respond with, do you know who my dad is? So this might have been a dad measuring contest, and these two people, they was out to win. They didn't care what the stakes was. They were going to win. And if they had to kill 500 people to get that victory, obviously that's what they was down to do. But I got a guest up here, so I'm going to go ahead and let the guest get the mic. All right. Go ahead. We have, let me see what your name is today. Good kid, mad nigga. This ain't got nothing to do with Kendrick Lamar, but good kid, mad niggas. You have the flow, my brother. You have the flow.
Happy Friday, Roger.
Happy Friday.
We at it again. You all here talking about them good white folks like that, Roger? One more game. What did they do this time, huh? What did they do other than what they do best? Like, what's a little 400? These are rookie numbers, man. They just pop up. They just pop up and air a few of them kids out. So what's the problem? Ain't that what they did in the past to make their granddad the great patriarch that he was? What's so different this time? Oh, my bad. I know. The granddad did it to a bunch of Negroes, but yeah, they popped out a few good white kids. That's the problem. Come on, can't be popping off them white kids like that. So for me, that's a non-issue. You know what I mean? That's what they do. Besides, how did they get their hands on bombs? That's the crazy part to me. How? We need to investigate that part.
Well, I mean, of course, this stuff has been investigated, and they just simply went online and started ordering the parts.
Just like that.
I mean, these were good white kids. If they want bomb making material, why not give it to them? They're good white kids.
No FBI showed up to their doors, snooping around, asking them, why were you looking for that specific item? None of that happened?
I mean, see, this is the thing. You know, this was early. The internet really kind of turned into a thing. You know, we was in the early stakes of it. You know, people were really starting to use the internet for things here and there, and they just some online shoppers, and they bought some stuff to make some bombs. Now, let's just say, for instance, maybe their accounts got flagged or something. Maybe somebody said, look at the different things that they're ordering to this specific location. So they probably just, let's take a look at who's getting the stuff. Now, is it easy for me to believe that maybe somebody, maybe something, a little flag or something went off, some signal went off to say, check these people out, and then you check the people out? Well, these are suburban kids, okay? These are white kids. These are kids with stable homes, and everything seems cool. I mean, even though these particular materials could make bombs, they probably wanted for a science experiment. They probably entering something in the science fair.
That was definitely scientific.
No, I'm being honest. That's what I really believe. So I do believe you order certain things, there'll be like a signal that'll go off about your account, and then they'll start checking the people out who's ordering these particular products to see, to guesstimate what they're going to do. And they probably, man, it's some high school kids. They probably trying to build something for the science fair. They trying to win. These are good white kids. It's nothing to be alarmed about. They come from a good 2-parent, stable white home. Not just stable home, a stable white home.
Oh, that's something.
There's nothing to worry about.
These some good kids trying to kill a few mad niggas. What's the problem?
I mean, think about it. They were in a pretty white town. Wasn't really no black people around. The fact that he even killed a black guy while carrying this out is when you think about it, it was an amazing feat that they even got a black guy, because wasn't really no black students at the school.
They got the only guy. It's like a horror movie. The only black guy in the horror movie will always die.
Well, they made a special trip to kill that black guy. At the end of the day, the students heard him. They say, "Hey, we got a nigga over here. Let's get him." So they made a special effort to kill the black guy. But I'm saying it's still an amazing thing for all these students to be running, ripping and running, and trying to find somewhere safe to be. Excuse me. And you really ain't got no black students. Yeah, if you really ain't got no black students, but you make sure you get one black guy before you go out. So that was a great effort on their part to get a black guy involved in it, And this is one of the reasons they had to change up what a mass shooting was. Columbine inspired them to change up what a mass shooting is, because certain things that happen, and obviously these guys inspired other white people to be school shooters, because we've had more than one school shooting event since that time. This was like the first one documented, at least across the nation. Okay, if this has happened any other time before, it wasn't like a nationwide thing that we had attention on it. So this is the first nationwide documented school shooting. They clearly inspire other white kids to start school shooting. And, it just is what it is. When you get white kids, a little too much power, they becoming young men. One already said they go into the military. The other one was going to go to college. So, I don't know, y'all. I think somewhere in their mentality, they were prepared to walk away from this, even though it wasn't really their plan. But just in case it don't go right, we're going to make sure we got enough guns, enough ammo, that we're going to make something happen, even if our bomb don't go off. even though I don't think they were thinking like they bomb not gonna go off, they were pretty much dependent upon that bomb going off, but they were just ready just in case. And them being so ready to kill so many people, got 33 people hit, got 13 dead. But let me clear some room for my main man, Security Services Sims. Well, you know what? Security Services Sims, they could have used you back then. They could have used you back in April of 99. But you got the flow, my brother. You got the flow.
Hey, what up, Roger? You can hear me? Good?
Yes, sir.
Well, they couldn't use me because my ass would have ran. I'm just going to let you know that right now. I don't know what
you ain't going to say them
No, God.
them good white students.
I'm letting the cops know where they're supposed to go. The motherfuckers over there. All right, go get them. But like I was saying, like this was one of the first cases to F around and find out. Because they were in being in like one of those because I did go to high school in the white area for a little bit, and they are brutal. Them crackers is very brutal when it comes to teasing people, and bullying is a form. Teasing is a form of bullying. You know what I mean? Because once you tease people and you give them a name, that thing will stick with you through your whole high school career. You know what I mean? So they was them kids. They was the awkward kids. You know what I mean? And they just had enough. I don't condone what they did, but they just had enough. That's why I tell people, man, leave people alone. You never know what people going through and how people going to react. You know, like you punch somebody in the face, I punch you in the face. I can't be mad at how you react. You know what I mean? So that's what they did. They went in there. They got busy. You gotta give them props for helping us out. And they had a lot of ingenuity with what they was doing. I don't remember the reason why I don't think they was getting flagged with this when they was getting this stuff. I don't really think the internet was really that prevalent back in them days in '99 like that. Because I think '99 is when I graduated high school. So yeah, we ain't really had no internet, none of that stuff like that. So that's probably why they was able to get by with the stuff that they was ordering. I don't know how they ordered it if it wasn't no internet going on. It was real prevalent like that though. But this case did set a precedent for everybody else to go out there and get busy. You know what I mean? Now to white people's defense, they would shoot up a school, but y'all Chicago niggas would shoot up a whole funeral and shit.
Hey, those.
So we all crazy in America. America is just a dangerous place, B. Don't mess with no Americans. That's what I tell everybody coming over here. Don't get this American shit twisted. We some crazy people over here.
But at least at the funeral, they call themselves going after other people involved in the beef. At least that, you know. Now the white kids, they don't care whether you're involved in the beef or not. They just got beef with you.
And they called themselves the trench coat mafia. I remember that coming out. Like they like was like the goth kids, and they called themselves the trench coat mafia. Like the media didn't give them that name. That's what they was calling themselves.
Yeah,
so they was already on some wild stuff. You should have been known if they was calling themselves trench coat mafia. Leave them alone.
I'm gonna say you can't be no mafia with only two people. That's.
Well,
but
that's
I
how
guess
you start.
I'm gonna say I guess they plan to recruit others. You know what I'm saying?
Are they dead? Are they dead or they been recruited by the three letters boys?
No, they did. They did. They killed themselves because they didn't want to deal with the after effects of this situation. So they killed themselves.
They could them three letter boys could have used them for their squads. You know, they could have sent them to Africa to purge all the mad niggas down in Africa. Man, well, see, stupid.
This is the thing. You have to be able to direct those people. You know, now they obviously have the dedication and commitment to get certain things done, but can you control these two people? Because at the end of the day, they were rebelling against authority, and they were going after people that they had, well, I can't even say personal issue with. I guess some indirect personal situations, I guess, maybe from an indirect standpoint. I mean, they did go after somebody who they had a personal issue with because, nigga didn't pick him up for school and he was pissed. and it puts you in a tough situation to know somebody is a little bit off, and you done got on his bad side. Now, what do you do about it? You got to wait for him to do something. I don't know if that would have been the best move to make, but I mean, it is what it is. But again, I think because of the internet wasn't being used as it is now. I do believe there's some red flags went off when it comes to the U.S. government. Because keep in mind, y'all, the government been using the internet. They was using the internet decades before we got access to the internet. So I'm pretty sure some red flags went off. Some kind of way they got some signals that they need to be checked into. And I really believe that because they checked into these two guys, it's just some kids. They come from two good, wholesome families. There's really nothing to do. And I'm not going to even blame them because let's keep it real, y'all. We don't want the government all up in our business all the time. So the fact that they hadn't done nothing previous to this, I could actually kind of see why they let it slide a little bit. And white folks want to believe that white folks is good. That makes sense to me. Even though they're buying bomb-making materials, these are good white kids, and we just don't want to believe that they're bad people. Okay? They don't have a bad track record. These are good white wholesome boys. And how dare you think anything other than that? But let me get a flow to Bad Black Gamer so he can get his piece in, and then we'll let Bronk get in because he's coming up now. Bad Black Gamer, you got it, and let's get Bronk in right behind you.
Hey, good morning. Good morning. Salutes to the chat and salutes to you, Roger. This is a very good topic that you're bringing up, an interesting topic that you bring up. Because I think this is something like that affects the generation, especially like our generation, because I was a sophomore when this happened in high school at that time. And I remember that from then on, that changed the way, you do things in high school or in the school period. This was all before now, like after shooter drill is like a regular thing, like just like the tornado drill and the fire drill was when we was in school. But it was just kind of crazy to me because I remember like a time when that was like, you do these little drills, but it was like a tornado drill. What's that? I'm sorry.
No, you keep on going, brother. You got a 2-minute uninterrupted opening statement. You keep on
Okay.
barrel through.
Yeah. I was just saying. Like I remember that we remember a time when it was just the only drills we did at school was like the fire drill and like the tornado drill or like earthquake drill, what have like natural disaster type drill. Now everybody does the after shooter drill. You got kids today. I think that's kind of sad. That they have to go do that because it's like trauma to me, in some way. That they have to go to this active shooter drill, which is crazy because that was something that we can remember a time when we didn't have to do that. But one of the things I kind of want to like kind of take the topic in a little slightly different direction. You do understand, like, if something like that was things, it still happens, but I think a lot of times now that they try to blame, they would try to blame this on the RP and on internet, social media. I can see where they would try to like blame this on like the manosphere or something like that happening right now. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
maybe not necessarily the black manosphere, but I'm talking about the
the manosphere is filled with white people.
Right.
They was white people.
Right.
If you go to school with white people, I think it's a very smart idea to do training for school shooters. You're around white folks.
Mm-hmm.
That's how white folks been getting down.
No, that's for true. But like before our generation, they didn't do it in the school like that. You know what I'm saying?
No, they didn't. They didn't, and I totally agree with that. But you just brought up some stuff about white people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying, as an intelligent adult, if I know white people are allowed to come to that school, well, not even allowed, if they actually go there, because you technically can go to different schools. If you go to school with white folks, being trained for a school shooting is probably a smart thing to do, because you go to school with white people.
Well, you remember before that, they used to have these people, they had this thing called going postal, because you would get like, an employee would get fired at work and he would come back and shoot up the whole job. You know what I'm saying? Which I never heard a brother doing that. More often than not, it was a dub peep. You know what I'm saying? So,
I was going to say, you know the color of those people? White people.
Yeah.
And my bad for stepping into your opening statement. My bad for that.
No,
But
no, it was
I'm
good. No, it
just
was good.
saying,
I was about to land my plane right there. I just
yeah,
wanted to point
yeah.
that out that today now they're making movies about RP people or stuff like that, saying they're the cause of this,
Well,
of
the
this sort of thing.
thing is, it's not about RP people. It's white people. White
Right,
people like to
right,
solve problems with guns.
exactly,
So my
exactly.
thing is, don't help the narrative. Just say what the narrative really is. White people
Hmm.
like to solve their personal problem with guns. These are just two white people that did it before they graduated. That's all.
Yeah,
A
you're
lot
right.
of other white people, they do it after they get out of high school. These
Yep,
two particular white people just happen to do it before they got out of high school. That's all. That's the real difference here. And what happened? They inspire other white people to do the same thing.
exactly. They put up the formula, the
Yeah.
MO.
This ain't it ain't an RP thing. It's a WP thing. They're white. And and I think we as American citizens just got to be realistic about who white people are. This is them, you know. This is them. So it is what it is. But let me let Bronk get up in here. Bronk, you got the flow, my brother.
Hey, what up, good people? Can y'all hear me
What's
okay?
happening? What's happening? What's happening?
All right, all right. Yeah, it's a good topic, man. A couple things that come to my mind about this situation is one, even mentioning your title, just how these kids were able to essentially formulate this plan. From what I know about the situation is, I think the kids actually started planning this shooting almost a year before it happened, and they actually made a bunch of videos, uh, even showcasing the guns they had bought, shooting them in the woods or whatnot, making all these manifestos or whatnot. A lot of those videos actually have not still to this day been released by the FBI, and I'm kind of curious what's the content of those. But it kind of shows a difference between white and black America as well, in the sense that it seems as though in white America, these kids actually at home, it's almost like an unwritten rule that mom and dad can't come in my room ever. Like that's a capital sin with little Timmy. Mom and dad stay out of my room, or else I'm gonna fuck y'all up. So it's like that's the unwritten rule in every white family. But as well as their upbringing, though, it seemed like they had a pretty normal life. I think one of them was like a military, came from a military family, and he moved a few times, which was about the fact that him moving from New York and having to essentially be uprooted from friends or whatnot. That was actually one of the papers that he wrote at Columbine as like an assignment for a school. I mean, but that in and of itself is not something that should be indicative of somebody just losing their shit and shooting up a school. So for the most part, it seemed like they were mostly normal fucking kids, I guess, for whatever that means in America, who had a normal upbringing. And so it's interesting to see them just snap to that degree. I think it was a religious aspect from it too, because I think one of the kids that they killed during Columbine, they asked the girl the question like, "Do you believe?" Before they ended up killing her. And I think part of the story, she said yes, she didn't deny her faith or whatnot, and they ended up killing her. So yeah, this right here, man, it's just a lot that was going on with that situation. So I'll close my statements with that.
Well, they were disciples of Hitler, so it is what it is. Okay, they were disciples of Hitler. Based on information that I have seen over the years, I'll say that based on the information I've seen over the years, they became disciples of Hitler. And I know Hitler was already gone, but they did the best they could. Okay, they did the best they could, which is why they wanted to kill at least 450 people. Because keep in mind, y'all, what you don't, you people always kind of leave out when they're talking about it. The plan was to bomb the cafeteria because it held about 450 people on a regular basis during school. Once that cafeteria got started, it held around 450 people. So that's what they were going for. Okay, it just didn't work out the way they wanted it to work out. Now I'm gonna say uh they had some similar experiences as other kids. There's other people I can think about that had to go for this school for a little bit of time, and then next thing you know, that because of what their family did, they had to go to a different school. Now there is a U.S. military, y'all, which means there's plenty of U.S. military school students. Okay, like It's not you're not the only person that ever had to leave a school and go to a new school. So my thing is I can't really blame that when kids do that on a regular basis. So I'm not gonna blame that. I mean that to me is white people trying to find a reason to justify how these two particular people got down because they still want to support them in some kind of way because they white. I mean, who didn't go to a different school here and there? A lot of kids did that. Okay, I ain't gonna say that it was like everybody, but the military got a lot of folks in there who got kids that had, while they're in the military. It's not an abnormal thing. It's not abnormal. Military kids move around. We already know this. So they were just doing what other military one of them was doing what other military kids do. So I'm definitely not gonna take that as some type of real excuse for him doing what he did. He was just becoming an entitled white man. Because that's what they were, y'all. They were high school kids on their way to becoming entitled white men. But I'm going to slow down right here because we got our Ivy League in the house. Don't get pissed on. You have the flow, my brother.
Shout out to you, Roger. Shout out to the panel and to the people in the chat. First, before I make my opening, I want to say, our condolences to the victims and to the families of the people who lost their lives during Columbine. This rings home to me a little bit because this was right after the scandal of R. Kelly and right before 9/11. I believe I was at 10.
Yeah, 2 years before 9/11. This was 99. 9/11 was 01.
Okay, yeah, so a lot of things happened just around that time, and I just want to say, man, it's just like we see the dynamics of white kids in America, and you see Black America, and it's very, very different because school shootings also happen in Black America, especially in high schools, but it didn't get news coverage. Nothing happened, when kids get shot at school or kids get murdered, right outside the school and things like that. But when it hit white America, then you know what I mean. Then it's a crisis. It's a mental health issue and things like that. Now we have all these reasons or things like that of why it happened, but the one thing that, like, again, condolences to the people of Columbine. But what about the shootings that happened in the hood, in Chicago, in Miami, and Philadelphia? Where's that? Where's the movies about that? Where's the insights about that? And so that kind of brings me up to the contrast, of where our kids have to be adults at such a young age, and their kids can still be kids. And I'll leave it there for now.
Man, with all due respect, what does the hood have to do with them genocidal maniacs, huh?
Well, I'm gonna say no. The thing is, I think what he's getting at is how they don't really care if the victims are Black. But at the end of the day, I will say this: when it comes to
let me because we're talking late 90s, right? So we're talking like school. We're talking about people in the hood getting shot all the time, and we're talking about kids at school getting shot all the time in the hood.
No, I mean, bro. I mean, if you really actually think about it, a lot of Black kids don't handle their business at school, and it's targeted stuff. There's kids who don't like other kids for different reasons. It could be gang stuff, it could be other stuff. They go after specific people that they
Oh,
have beef with.
absolutely, yeah, well, absolutely, because there were school shootings at my school at that time, right? When I graduated in '97, there were 3 different school shootings at my school. Now, did they go and just blaze the whole hallway? No, they shot the motherfucker who they wanted, or they stabbed the guy they wanted. Absolutely, but still, 3 times it happened.
I mean, I get you, but that those are just people who got entered in turmoil amongst each other. While Columbine is very different, it's just this is just a case, and which happens, which happens from time to time. White people just want to kill random folk. It's
Well, no,
like they're trying to it's like they're trying to quench their thirst for killing.
Well, no, I wouldn't say that. I think white people want everybody to feel their pain, because we see it at Columbine. We saw it at Penn State with a dude at the bell tower, because Penn State happened also around the same time, also with a dude went to the top of the bell tower and just start popping people, right? So I don't think it's about they want to kill people. I just think that if I have a problem, everybody gonna feel. When I have a problem, it's gonna be everybody's problem.
I mean, I'm not gonna say that that's probably not part of at least some of their ways of thinking, but at the end of the day, I mean, to me, that still goes along with the fact that I for whatever reason they develop it, they have a thirst to kill people. They got a bloodthirst. Now, maybe the bloodthirst came because somebody said something about them. Maybe somebody said something about the car they drive. Maybe somebody said something about the house they live in. And because they're entitled white folks, they don't know how to necessarily process the stuff a lot better. But they build a thirst for blood. And that's why they'll kill anybody. You don't have to be the person that was involved. They'll kill anybody. That's bloodthirst.
No, but I have to disagree with that, because it would be different, like the Batman situation, where dude just went to the movies and sprayed everybody out. Okay, that could be bloodlust, but especially in Columbine, when they were like the butt of everybody's joke, people made fun of them here and there, and there's no help, there's no outreach. No, the school gonna feel. They gonna feel my pain. Real talk. They gonna
Listen. I've been to high school, okay? I've been teased in high school. I've been into a few fist fights back in high school, but I never had the idea to grab an AR and air out the place. That never crossed my mind.
Yeah, that's not natural. That's not natural to like to want to go hurt everybody just because you're getting bullied by one person.
Yeah.
But
What is
again,
this
right?
one?
But the psyche of a white person, the psyche of a black person is different. But I wouldn't say it's bloodlust, because bloodlust would be like
That's bloodlust, man.
totally outside. It would be totally. I would be targeting someone that's totally outside the parameters of what's happening. Because you gotta look at it this way, right? I'm getting bullied at school. There's no one helping me at school. People know that this is happening at school. Teachers, classmates, everything at school. So I'm gonna make sure that people will feel my pain at school. Now, it would have been different if they would have did with the Batman thing and then shot the movie theater. Did not make zero sense. But if it's happened, if I'm being traumatized, this location, and nobody at this location, in my opinion, doesn't give a damn, then okay, I'm going to do the Viking thing.
Again,
I mean,
I've been through all that, but the idea of me grabbing an AR-15 and airing out the place indiscriminately never crossed my mind.
But you're not.
I fought kids at school. I gave a few bloody nose. I got jumped.
But you're not. But the point you're missing here, sir, is that number one, you're not going to get a gun issue anybody anyway. In the first place, you can't. Just because you wouldn't do it doesn't mean it doesn't make sense. That's a fallacy there.
Well, I'm gonna say real quickly, because Black Rudin came up and I'm gonna give him the floor. I'm gonna say this: I take into account that the plan was to kill at least 450 people. So this is beyond a personal, like this guy bullied me in second period, or this person bothers me every day at seventh period. This is beyond that. They wanted to take out at least 450 people.
No, but because 450 people saw me get abused every day. That's why.
I mean, that's an interesting way. I ain't gonna necessarily agree with it, but that's interesting.
I don't think you blame everybody. I think you get the people that do stuff to you.
Hold fast, y'all. Hold fast. I just said Black Guru came up and I was gonna give him the mic. So Black Guru, you got it, brother.
Yeah, Roger. Thanks for having me. I hope you and the gentlemen on the panel, the folks in the public chat, are doing well. Admittedly, when you chose to cover this subject, Roger, I was somewhat at a loss for the purpose of it, admittedly, and I guess the relevance to what we typically discuss in this environment. As I listened, I got a better understanding of, obviously, sort of a critique of white supremacy, which sort of culminated in and manifested in what happened with this Harris, I guess, in Cleveland.
Yeah.
Two young Columbine shooters. And so as you were talking, and as the other gentlemen were talking, I thought maybe I'd read through some of the reporting of this event, and in particular, some of the background information about the two men, boys, I guess, or young men murderers who did the killing. So if you don't mind, I'm going to read a fairly small parts of some reporting about them that started in 1997. So this would have been 2 years prior to this event. I guess they were 17 and 18 when the mass shooting occurred. So, at this time they might have been 15 or 16 when these things occurred. I'll try to get through it expeditiously as possible, but I think it will help to frame what you're presenting here. Quote, early police reports. During the early months of 1997, Harris, Klebold, and there was another friend, Zach Heckler, who wasn't involved in the shooting, but for the purposes of what I'm presenting here is a reference to, engaged in acts of extra, quote, mischief, extra, end quote, on weekends, mischief. Keep that word of mischief in mind. These nighttime activities reportedly involve setting off explosives, stealing street signs, vandalizing the homes of classmates they disliked, and consuming alcohol together afterwards. In their web pages they were creating, Harris referred to the acts as rebel missions, summarizing his involvement in what he terms mission logs. Now, Harris' father, I think, was ex-military or whatever, so that may explain his particular militarization to some of this stuff. Shortly after, Harris briefly came to the attention of police following complaints of property damage in the neighborhood. Now, a former friend, Book Browns, who had previously been friends with Harris, severed ties with him in February 1997 after Harris damaged Brown's car's windshield with a chunk of ice because of an argument. In response, Brown informed Harris' parents of his son's secret alcohol collection and persuaded them to have Harris apologize in person to the Brown family for the windshield. Humiliated by the incident, Harris soon began posting death threats to Brown on his website, writing, quote, all I want to do is kill and injure as many of you as I can, especially a few people like Brooks Brown. On August 7, 1997, an anonymous, quote, concerned citizen reported one of Harris's websites to Jefferson County Sheriff's Office for online threats against the Browns, who were subsequently notified. Months later, in May 1998, the Brown family followed up with police after finding out that Harris had posted instructions for building pipe bombs on a separate website. It was later revealed, based on accounts from the Brown family and a report of an unexploded plastic pipe bomb found on a bike path approximately 2 miles away from Columbine High School. Sheriff Detective Mike Guerrero drafted an affidavit in April 1998 for a search warrant to be executed on the Harris household. However, the warrant was never submitted to a judge. Burglary and arrest diversion. On the night of January 30th, 1998, Harris and Claybold broke into a park van in Deer Creek Canyon Park in a Deer Creek Canyon Park lot and stole electronic equipment. Jefferson County Sheriff Deputy Tim Walsh later noticed the two parked cars further down the road near a park entrance. Because the park was closed at the time of night, Walsh approached him to investigate and announced his presence as one of the boys prepared to move the stolen items into the trunk of Harris's car. After both were questioned about the origin of the equipment, Harris admitted to theft. On March 25th, 1998, Harris and Klebold pleaded guilty to mischief, breaking and entering, trespassing, and theft. The two were sentenced, quote, to participate in a paid diversion program that included victim resolution, community service, anger management classes, counseling in exchange for the future expungement of their criminal records. During their diversion intake interview, both Harris and Claybold was described as cooperative and left favorable impressions on juvenile officers. On a form asking them to identify personal issues, Claybold selected finances and jobs. Harrison checked anger, suicidal thoughts, and homicidal thoughts. That is white America right there. There's no way black boys create pipe bombs, vandalize homes and cars, break into vehicles, steal radio equipment, publish verbally and publish death threats on numerous websites. And even as they're leaving a paid program, an option that was given to them in lieu of them ever having to suffer any criminal charges, as they're leaving the program, one of them checks out that he's angry, he has suicidal thoughts, and he has homicidal thoughts. That is white America.
Thank you, Elder.
And from an American standpoint, because America has always been the America that's been, those are good white kids. That's how America sees good white kids at the end of the day. Now, it's crazy. And since you bring that part up, I'm gonna say again, y'all, they do all this, but they are presented as the kids that are bullied. But as I say, they never really went into how they were bullied in this terrible way that would make sense for them to, not totally make sense, because you ain't not gonna be able to totally make sense that somebody's gonna do something like this, especially them being the first ones to publicly shoot up a school around the nation. But at the end of the day, you don't really see no reasoning of these two people just coming back to shoot up random people at a school. Who was really doing something to them? And then with their quote unquote mission, they was getting get back. So how do we know who started anything at the end of the day? We don't even know who started the stuff, because they claim that somebody did something to them, but they got their get back. So what's the point in trying to kill 450 people? It's a different psychology when it comes to white America, which is why I'm saying that, at the end of the day, the way they deal with this stuff is they start developing bloodlust, because that's what I believe it is. They, whatever was going on, they started developing a bloodlust because I got to take out about 500 people to make my point. I want to be the big man on campus. These other guys that may be taller than me, maybe stronger than me, maybe more athletic than me, none of them should be over me. We should be at the top of the food chain. And if we got to kill everybody to be at the top of the food chain, then that's what it's going to be. Because at least the way I see it, they wanted this class that was about to graduate from Columbine. I think that they wanted that to be the last class that ever went to Columbine. That's what I really believe. They was going to blow that school cafeteria up, try to kill at least 500 people, and have that school shut down. And that was going to be it. They was the top of the food chain. And forever in history, they will be remembered as the two big dogs of Columbine. I think that's what they was going for. But hey, to America, they just good white kids. But let me let Jado have the phone. I appreciate what you brought into that, Black Rule, because I think all that stuff is very important. But Jado, I'm gonna let you get the flow real quick.
Hey, what's going on, Roger? Fellas on the panel, everybody in the chat, even the replay gang. I've told this story before. I've worked closely alongside Marines quite a bit during my military career. And I used to sometimes ask them, just in conversation, just, hey, well, why did you join? And one answer used to stand out to me, and I heard it a few times. I don't know the number, but a few times. He said, I joined because I want to be able to kill somebody. And they weren't joking. I mean, I can tell by their tone and body language they weren't joking. And that would come from, usually it would come from white guys, pretty much, man. And I guess I'm just bringing this up to this case here with these two killers. It's a thin line between them doing something like this or joining the police force or joining armed forces, joining some type of thing. It's a thin line. I'm pretty sure, just in my experience, just being in the military, I'm sure when I looked into the eyes of certain people and talked with them, I can see. I don't want to say is it psychopathic or sociopathic? I don't know which one. But I can kind of see or feel those tendencies, and just because certain variables or certain conditions weren't met, I guess you didn't get an incident like this. But a lot of times they're able to, they can police a black neighborhood or something like that, and some of them are savvy enough to allow the conditions to happen to where they can get away with stuff like that by feeding that bloodlust that you speak of, Roger. So I don't know. I thought it was quite interesting with the military tie with the one, was it Eric Harris, I believe, and I thought that was significant. And I guess I'll end right there. Thanks for having me up, Roger.
Can I follow up with that? Because I
go ahead.
I think the reason might have been what was the date of the shooting?
April 20th, 1999, on Hitler's birthday.
April 20th. Okay. So it's April 20th. Keep April 20th in mind. Okay. Because Harris had applied to join the Marines. He was rejected because he had to take this antidepressant as a part of a court-ordered anger management therapy, and the Marines rejected him for that. The date that the Marines rejected him for that, April 15th, 1999. I think that the rejection of the Marines precipitated that shooting. I think if he's allowed to join the Marines, that shooting doesn't happen. Harris was obviously the leader of the thing. Klebold, although he didn't necessarily have good grades, apparently he was gifted. You know, he was a brilliant kid. He had already been accepted into college. He had these high SAT scores. He was one of those kids, but he was a follower. But Harris was the one who popped that thing off. Harris was the leader of
Yes.
that pack. And I think because he had been rejected by the Marines, and he, as you said, Jado, he didn't get a chance to formalize his ability to go
Yeah.
kill people, then he chose to take that desire into his own hands. Because that was less than a week before the shooting. It was 5 days before the shooting. I guarantee you, when he got that rejection from the Marines on, I don't know, what was that? Maybe that was a Wednesday or whatever. I bet you he was like, oh, well, we're going to do this.
Now, I think you're absolutely right. And that makes all the sense in the world. You know, so it could have been he got the rejection on Wednesday. Hey, you know what? Hitler's birthday is in 5 days.
Monday is what day of the week was it when the shooting occurred? So count back 5 days from that. He you know, maybe it was a Friday, and by Wednesday they were killing folks. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought it was significant. I think one of the mother of one of their friends or whatever, how she spoke on how he would change, like he was I guess, you know, charming, like a lot of I guess psychopaths or whatever, but yeah, he would turn it on and then he would turn really quickly, you know what I mean? And I don't know, man, when I look at that, I see the he probably could have made a good service member. I'll say that.
Well, yeah, maybe up until the point in which he started killing other, you know, soldiers, maybe the black ones, you know, some shit like that,
or the Jewish ones, something like that.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
But Brunk has come up, so I'm gonna let Brunk get in. Brunk, you got the mic, brother.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
All right, yeah, I just jumped back in. I really had much to say, but I was just listening to the report that Black Guru had put out there, and yeah, that's a lot of interesting stuff. It's very insightful. What also just came across my mind was we actually had something like that happen here in St. Louis a couple of years ago at Central Visual Performing Arts, and it was a black guy, and he had actually graduated from that high school a year before and came back as a 19-year-old and pretty much barged his way inside of the school and killed a couple of people, and then I think he got killed by the police. So it's interesting because I've never really seen a black guy actually go into a school and shoot it up, but that brings to mind to me really it's just the psychology behind that. You know, it seemed like to me the black guy who did that had a bunch of issues going on, where just self-identity issues, if you will, and it seemed like he was thinking more like a white man.
Well, I mean, I'm gonna say it's hard to really give that context because we don't know that story. We don't know what it was, and black people come kill. They're usually killing a specific person for a specific reason, not just folks at random.
No. So he actually had a list. This kid right here, his name was Orlando Harris. If y'all want to look it up, and it's
Well, I mean, we can't do it today because we can't research another story while we're already doing a story. That's what I'm saying. That I don't even. I ain't gonna say I ain't never heard his name. I just don't even remember his specific case. But with the fact that this happened, then 2 years later, 9/11 happened, I can see how some stuff got kind of pushed to the wayside. I can say that.
I'm going to read another part of this, and I hope, but again, I think this this gives you some insight in white America and has
Well,
specifically
real
how it
quickly,
treats white boys.
Black Rule. April 15th in 99, that was a Thursday. Shooting went down on Tuesday, April 20th. So he got it Thursday. He had time to think about it on Friday. The weekend came. Monday, he could have brought himself down, but Tuesday, he was popping off. So, that's how that went.
Mm-hmm.
Just so you know.
Mm-hmm.
And this was the
Yeah.
rejection letter from the
And
Marines that he got.
yeah. It says his mother, Sue, the mother of Sue Claypool, the mother of Claypool, Sue Claypool, Dylan Claypool was the son. Her son attempted to justify the burglary to her the following day by stating that the crime was, quote, was not against a person, but rather a company. And the incident was the reason why people have insurance. That was her son's view of this, right? Similarly, in a personal journal entry dated April 20th, 1998, Harris wrote, quote, isn't America supposed to be the land of the free? How come? If I'm free, I can't deprive some fucking dumb shit from his possessions if he leaves him sitting in the front seat of a fucking van in plain sight in the middle of fucking nowhere on the fucking day. Natural selection. Fucker should be shot. Now, here's the important part of why I not only do you have that particular attitude and sentiment being conveyed, this very callous attitude. Remember what I said earlier, that there had been an affidavit drafted for a search warrant of their homes, but for some reason, and it was in April 1998, during the exact same period of time that I referenced to in those statements, and but the search warrant was not executed. It was not submitted to a judge. All that information would have been revealed. All of what they had going on, they get those diaries. Maybe they even find pipe bombs in the house or guns in the house. Because this was less than a year prior to this whole thing jumping off. Maybe they find all the information and documentation of what they're doing on the computers, etc. But they're white boys. They're relatively affluent or upper middle class white boys. So nobody really goes at them that hard.
Yeah, it's cool to get away with it as long as you're white, and the stuff that would kind of mess us up. Yeah, it's just not gonna be the same experience, because they're gonna look at who are these people, who are they connected to, where they live, what's their track record, and at the end of the day, the small track record that they built, that just wasn't good enough for them to make a move on. Because these are good white kids, and I named it that way deliberately. It's not a coincidence, y'all, because this is how they are viewed. They were just good white kids. And even with the media coverage, I don't know if y'all remember this stuff when it did happen, but the media coverage was just kept making excuses for these two guys, kept making excuses for them. No matter what was said, somehow it was never their fault that they attempted to kill about 500 people. It just wasn't even their fault. And that's just how the news carried it. And 10 Foil Kofi is joining us. So I'm going to go ahead and let him get the mic. You got it, my brother. And we got somebody else coming in. Matter of fact, right after 10 Foil Kofi, we're going to give it to Truth Teller. Go ahead, 10 Foil Kofi.
That's Mr. 10 for Kofi, man. You know what I'm saying? I didn't upgrade, bro. Mr. 10 for Kofi now. All right. But what you basically saying is the ideology of might makes right necessarily, right? That's the true religion of white people. I say it was white supremacy, but their true religion is might makes right, and that's cool. But the problem is with that ideology, it ultimately eats themselves and it ultimately eats them, because at the end of the day, when you no longer the strongest, you know what's gonna happen to you. I keep telling you, I've been in Georgia. I've done quote unquote wrestling for a good amount of time. Trust me. White people don't like the might is right concept when they're on the losing end of that might makes right concept. So that's what you basically saw right then and there, and that's exactly what you've seen. If you ever shake the time or ever had the money, invest in the book Might Makes Right. It's a good read to get a basically get a understanding of the white American ideology or mindset. So, but I'm gonna go ahead and bounce after this. I'm gonna finish eating.
Okay, appreciate you, brother. Appreciate you. Truth teller, you got it, my brother. You got it.
I think some folks are getting some idea about that being known as, that might makes right right now in certain parts of the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Certain a particular faction of those people are figuring that out with some bunker busting bombs, as they call them. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So you know what? I think I agree, with everybody's point. I think there's a fundamental thing that we're missing, right? Because we're looking at it from our own perspective, our own values for what we see, right? We see something's wrong. It goes from I'm in school, I'm going to school with these same set of kids literally for years, almost decades. I'm in high school now. I'm getting teased. In my mind, my response to that isn't standing my ground and making sure it stopped. I jump all the way to left field in another dimension with a reality that's cracking. And I'm just going to go collect some bodies from God knows who. And I know the black dude ain't teasing. Why they got it? Come on now. So when you look at that and you understand that, hey, they're not coming at this point from any values that we know and love. They're coming to this point from the values of their cultures. And literally what that means is it has to be like one part degrading in some way, shape, or form, one part brutal, one part theft, and another part has to be their ego has to be pronounced and promoted. And that's how they've always done anything. Not just these things. They've done anything like that. They've taken over countries, colonized places. Y'all already, mentioned it earlier. And the reason why they do this is because this is normal practice. The only difference that they are now is they've wrapped an image around themselves that makes it seem like they're not like this. And that's the only thing that's really holding them back from being who they truly are, which frustrates them at the same time. Which is why you get these bubblings of these comments saying, hey, just like what Uru just read, hey, why can't I just take it when I want to and, put somebody down? That's why you get that, because this is their Clark Kent costume, freedom, America, right. Even the might makes right thing. That's their costume. They don't care about anything being right or wrong. All they care about is getting what they want. And they're going to do whatever they want to do to get it. And if they feel like making their image look better while they're doing it, they're going to do that until that doesn't work anymore. And then they're just going to go all out like they always do. And this has been replicated in their history. So we just need to make sure we're aware of what's going on with these people and
all right. And shout out to Joe. Joe said, good kid, mad, entitled.
No, and that's my point, though. They are good kids. That's what a good kid is for these people.
And that's why I wanted to kind of go into like the military law enforcement thing, because again, it's a fine line. If you change a few variables, a few conditions, these white boys could have been decorated police officers or something. Like if you just change a few little variables, it can change just like that. It could be heroes.
Yep.
Yeah, give them another 4 years.
Well, if Klebo, if Harris gets into the Marines, Klebo, who apparently was somebody's got a lot of
Who got the drive? Whoever
distortion
got the
going
driving
on
in the background,
in the
whoever that is
background.
driving. There we go. Thank you. Go ahead.
If Harris gets accepted into Marines, Klebold very likely goes to, I think he had been accepted at Arizona State or whatever, and goes on and probably becomes some IT millionaire or whatever. Apparently he was a gifted IT guy. So he probably, is, one of these fake IT master of the universe types right now.
Yep.
Just like that. Yeah. But there's one other name. There's one other name. I mean, this is a fascinating story. I never even looked into it that deep before. There's one other name you guys should remember too. The name is, and let's not leave the white women out of this, Robin Anderson. Robin Anderson. Now, who was Robin Anderson? Well, Robin Anderson was Dylan Klebold's prom date. Now, that seems like a minor detail, it's prom date. So apparently, I guess Dylan Klebold wasn't a total, recluse or whatever if you could get a prom date. Robin Anderson bought 3 of the 4 guns used during the shooting. One of their girlfriends bought 3 of the 4 guns used in the shooting.
Never got arrested for that?
This is white America. This shit only happens in white America. You only get away with this kind of shit in white America. Did any of us ever hear about Robin Anderson being implicated in any of this or being part of some sort of terrorist event or anything like that? I don't recall that.
I don't remember nothing about her. I remember them saying everything basically came from what they do because of who their parents were, and they use their parents' information. I don't remember nothing about a woman being involved in this case at all.
Yeah, me either.
Robin with a Y, Anderson with an ER, bought 3 of the 4 guns that they used in that shoot. So white women show up for their men.
Heck of a way to show up. Shout out to Gyogami. He says, art school rejection, Marine Corps rejection, coincidence? Roger Report thinks not. And you absolutely right. I do not buy into coincidences at all. And you know what?
Yeah,
that letter
Hitler was rejected from what was that? The art school of Austria, one of those. Hitler was rejected. Yeah. Might have very different history if he's not rejected from that art school. Might have a very different world history.
Absolutely. So, and my thing is, I know this is about 27 years ago at this particular point, but I remember seeing this, okay? And everything that was presented about these kids at the time was that they were just some good kids. They were being a little foolish. They come from good homes, stable families, and they just made a couple mistakes. That's all. This was like a couple mistakes. They just kind of went the deep end, and it really shouldn't have ever got there. And there was no way for people to be able to consider that these 2 guys would at some point become problematic. This stuff was not reported that I remember at all. Okay. I remember all kinds of excuses being made for them. People saying that they were suffering from depression and things like that. You know what? I'm not saying people can't suffer from some mental situation, but when you try to kill about 500 people, I ain't blaming that on some feeling you got. Okay. I ain't never been through depression. I'm sure it's something to deal with if you got to go through it. But I can't say depression. Okay, that's cool. So you can kill about 500 people. Yeah, I don't believe in it like that. I don't believe in it like that. I ain't been through it, but I'm not buying into that one. But we got a new guest that then came up, so we're gonna go ahead and get a flow to Thanos. We could have used that Infinity Gauntlet back then, brother. We could have used it back then, but you got the mic.
I know. This absolutely was a tragedy. I remember it being covered. I'm thankful for Uru covering details of it that were not common knowledge to all of us, that were not the highlights of what was covered, and it gives us great perspective, or even greater perspective, on what was going, what happened, what was going on, and why. But I have a clarifying question, and it's not meant to be insightful. I really want to know. Um, Often, we as black men, when we discuss these kind of things, it almost sounds like we're frustrated that we don't get away with the same kind of behavior. So, are we upset about the occurrence and of of um, lack of response by law enforcement, or are we upset that we don't get treated the same way?
I'm gonna say it's neither, because at the end of the day, I pick the shows. This is just another show about how
No,
who white people are at the end of the day,
no,
so
no,
black
no,
people
no,
will
no.
be aware of it.
I get it. I do get that, but this is on topic, but at the same time, this is something
Well,
that I've
well,
viewed in.
let me ask you this
Go ahead.
question. Do you think how many black men do you think are jealous that they should be able to go shoot up a schooling and kill a bunch of innocent people? What
No, I don't.
percentage of
I don't.
black men
I
do
don't.
you believe want to do
I don't
that?
think. I don't think we're.
And I'm
I don't
asking
think.
this question because
Uh huh.
because it directly relates to your question, and that is, would we expect to receive some similar sorts of treatment by law enforcement?
Yeah, I've heard black men discussing the same topic, and the lack of accountability by law enforcement in this situation, and the lack of response given the information that they had. And it comes off sometimes to me, and maybe I'm just hearing it wrong, that that they're upset that black men don't get the same kind of leniency.
Now, I'm gonna say, um, now I can't say who you heard, but I'm gonna say realistically, if you do the story, there's no way to do the story without saying something about how lackadaisical everybody was. Because at the end of the day,
Mm-hmm.
they order stuff online to make bombs with.
No, no,
So you know,
I'm not in
Well,
disagreement at all. Let me be clear. Hold on real quick. Let me be. I want to be clear. I'm not in disagreement with the way Roger is covering this story at all. I think you're covering it perfectly. I think you guys are going over it perfectly. But this is something that I'm wrestling with myself, and I'm asking questions about it, because I like um we'll talk about other instances that are heinous that
all
are
right, all right.
happening. And
If I may,
go ahead,
please.
go ahead.
You have something called a criminal justice system that
Correct.
between the federal government and all the respective state municipalities is spending somewhere in excess of $2 trillion a year for. You're saying this
Yes.
is a legitimate system that we're
Hmm.
all required to pay for. We're all
Right.
required to submit to. We all can be severely punished by. We can have our lives wrecked by this system that we all pay
Absolutely.
for and
Absolutely.
operate in regards to. But you're going to tell me we're going to do all of that. But for some people are going to be strictly and harshly and often at times unfairly treated by that system. And then you're going to say another group of people, for no legitimate reason at all, is going to be treated very differently by that system, which is what I presented in the details of this story.
Correct.
Why would the first group of people not be disappointed with that system, considering how it's treating that second group of people? Why
Yeah,
would
I
they
think
not be disappointed and judgmental of that system?
no, I do think we're
Guilty
right.
or guilty or innocent. Guilty or
Right.
innocent. I myself have had no, arrests or encounters with law enforcement or whatever, and I'm just as disappointed in the unfairness of the system as some brother who is doing time.
Right.
Because the
Right.
bottom
And
line is you're either going to have a fair system that treat everybody justly and is going to make the same investment in prevention of crime and investigation, etc., for all groups of people is either going to work that way or we got to change the system fundamentally. But the status quo, again, as I presented in the details of this story, where these guys repeatedly got away with building bombs and threats and destroying home destruction of property of homes and vehicles and whatever. I mean, what black men would not look at that and not feel some kind of way about that?
Yeah.
Considering how many of our lives have been destroyed by much less than most of them.
And I gotta say too, at the end of the day, I mean, the reality is this story don't have nothing to do with black people, other than the fact that they kind of went out their way to kill one black guy who was there.
right.
Other than that, this ain't
So
really got nothing to do with black people.
so listen. This is what I'm trying to clarify. I'm not intentionally trying to antagonize, asking an antagonistic question. This is something that has been in my mind for a long time, and it just was an opportunity to ask this question as best I could because I've been trying to grasp like why we view these heinous crimes in the light of and it sounds to me sometimes, not in this case, but sometimes it sounds to me like, why can't we get away with this? So I'm like, why would we want to get away with that? What are we talking about?
I,
But I definitely understand what Uru was saying.
Well,
Yeah, I do.
I'm gonna say because there's always a new person listening.
Yes.
Unsupervised White People is a show that's just simply about white people. It has nothing to do with how they compare to black people or anything like that.
No,
I'm just
I
no,
was just
I'm
moved
not.
to
I'm
ask a
not saying
question.
this for you. I'm not even saying this for you because there's always new people here. You see what I'm saying? There's always
Gotcha.
gonna be new audience members. Now, unsupervised white people is just an examination of how white people move. That's all it is at the end of the day.
Right.
Has nothing to do with black people. The only black person in this story was the fact that they happened to go through the trouble to kill one black guy because they seen him. You know, they say, "Hey, we got a nigga here," and
Roger,
they killed him too. Other than that, this ain't
But
got
do
nothing to
but
do with black folks.
but
do we know
do
the
you
dude's name? I want to say the dude's name. I wouldn't refer to him as his name. Do we
do,
know what his name was?
Isaac, I believe his name was.
Isaac. All
yeah.
right, we gonna refer to him
Do,
as Isaac.
do, do
Shout
you
out to Isaac.
do you guys understand why I'm asking this question though? Like is it
I
not
do.
landing
I get it,
correctly?
but I think I do, but I think you're overthinking it because if we're
I
talking
probably
about
am.
well, if we're talking about being fair, meaning it could go
Yeah.
that way. Hey, we might want the ability to do the same thing, or we might not want the ability to do the same thing. That's really irrelevant. The whole point
Right.
is it fair to begin with? No matter what we want to do with that fairness after the
Oh
fact.
no,
Yeah.
it's absolutely not fair. We're not treated fairly by the justice system
Yeah.
at all.
Well,
So I definitely understand that. But this is just something that's been nagging at me. You brothers are some intelligent brothers that I really respect, and I figured it was a good opportunity to really get that answer, get an answer that I can ponder. That's really all I'm
well,
wondering.
I'm not gonna say. I'm gonna say I ain't mad at the question, but anybody who's watched my channels, and yeah, I've had channels that have went down. Anytime I do anything about unsupervised white people, black
Right.
people ain't really involved.
No,
You know what I'm
no, no.
saying? So
I'm sorry I derailed it, but
no, no, no.
like I really.
But
You're not irrelevant. What I'm saying is,
hold on, wait, hold on, wait a minute. Now let's not be
Go ahead.
disingenuous.
I'm not.
Because look, I made a point. I'm not. Let me make my point. I made a point of citing the details about what happened here to put in context what would have happened if these were young black men, to highlight how the system views and treats black men very differently. I wasn't saying that to say that if a black dude broke into a car and stole radio equipment and vandalized somebody's house and issued death threats, I wasn't saying that that guy should get away with that. I'm saying obviously the system would respond to that in a way in which those black men or black boys would be punished.
Correct.
But the system obviously was not willing to do that to white boys. So if you got a system that is that discriminatory, then what is the real value of that system? And what is the purpose of that system that we are again paying somewhere collectively in excess of $2 trillion a year for? What's the real purpose of that system?
So that's what I'm getting at. And like I said, I'm not being disingenuous. I'm really asking a real question. This has bothered me for years, like the way that we articulate ourselves when we ask these questions. Uru, you articulate yourself so well. It brings understanding to me. And as I was listening to you, I was like, this will be a great time to answer this question, because when I ask some of my other peers, the answers they give me leave me with more questions than answers. So I'm not trying to be funny at all.
No, I don't even mind that you ask the question. I just think when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, if it's black, if these are black kids, this just doesn't happen. It just never actually happens.
And look, you cannot talk. You cannot talk about or evaluate the American criminal justice system without including as a criteria of reference black men, because of our great pervasiveness in the system. So you got to make that comparison, because the system is so, we're 7% of the population and nearly 50% of the prisoners. So you can't evaluate what happened here without including them in the discussion. You got to include them in the discussion. You got to include black men in the discussion.
That's the answer. That's the answer right there, that I was never able to come up with and never able to understand. That's the answer I've been looking for right there. So now it totally makes sense to me. Regardless of how it comes off, we have to juxtapose it like that in order to understand truly that the system is broken, and to be able to illustrate how broken the system is. I was never able to articulate that.
Let me give you an example of how it happened actually when a black guy did it. Okay, I brought up earlier.
Hold fast. We talk about black people all the time on this channel. Today is unsupervised white people.
I apologize.
I do not do that much on white people. That's number one. I don't even do that much on white people. Number two, my thing is, at the end of the day, we as black people, because we do have a certain thought process. I'm talking about the general public of black folks. We got a certain thought process that we have about white folks. My thing is, look at who the people are at the end of the day. This may seem like some big story to some. To me, this is just white people being white people. It's a couple of kids that felt very entitled. They had access to weapons. They had access to information because they had the internet in their home at that particular time. I know a lot of people may not have had a computer in your home with the internet in 1999, but they did. This is what they're going to do with that type of stuff. You give them an opportunity, they're going to do stuff like this. When have white people not done stuff like this when they have the opportunity? So this was just a 17 and an 18-year-old that had opportunity. Their parents were straight, and they had internet access in the home. In 99, a lot of us were still going to the library to get on the internet.
Now I want to make a quick statement to the actual subject. This ain't got nothing to do with what I asked. I grew up around a lot of white folk.
Let me read the super chat before you make that statement. Shout out to Elder Blood. He says, any conversation black men have about white men today is the same conversations Methuselah, Lamech, and Noah was having about the Nephilim back, and it's documented.
Damn. 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 They evil spirits. Damn.
Yeah, the boy be cutting to the core.
He
He be cutting to
do.
the core.
He do.
Hold on. I got one more.
Go ahead.
Shout out to Joe's again. Shout out to Joe's. He say, "Are we asking if playing the dozens could have stopped the shooting overall?" And I'm gonna say this was way beyond somebody quote unquote playing the dozens with them, but that's how it was presented because they're white kids. That's just all it is. They white. The American media system was not going to really put them out there bad like that. So everything was about the fact that they were getting bullied when it came down to it. You know what I'm saying? And we're supposed to accept that just because you got teased a little bit, that you're supposed to, be able to attempt to shoot up a bunch of people. And I'm gonna say real talk, it wasn't even a whole lot of coverage about the bomb they had set up in the cafeteria because I don't remember that at all. I remember the pipe bomb stuff. But I don't remember any coverage about the bomb they had set up to blow up at least 450 people in the cafeteria when it was actually happening. I don't remember that at all. But go ahead, Thanos, since you're back.
Okay. I grew up a portion of my growing up. My mom was a student at the University of Florida when I was in middle school and high school, and I got a chance to spend quite a bit of time with white folk. These two boys are normal fucking white people. I have seen white people do and plan and plan out heinous stuff all the freaking time. Like this is normal for them to sit up and talk about killing people, to sit up and plan out and write manifestos and all this other kind of stuff. It is uncanny how many of them don't do it, but they plan it out and they have manifestos. This is very, very normal behavior for white people. Very, very normal behavior. They're very destructive. I had a white friend or an associate. This guy would break in police vehicles and steal all kinds of equipment and weapons out of police vehicles and all kinds of stuff. This is normal. This is what they do. And I'll land my plane there.
Well, I would agree with you. This is just them being themselves. And because we are, you know what I'm saying, at least myself, and I'm going to say a lot of my audience, not all of my audience. Shout out to all the people who live in different parts of the world. But a lot of my audience, we live in America and white people live here too. So at the end of the day, it is just smart for us to look at what white people do and how they get down. And I think Columbine was a very significant time frame, and a lot of changes were made because of the Columbine situation. But at the end of the day, it's just some good white kids. That's really all this is. This is America's version of good white kids. They just were a little quote unquote misled. That they say stuff like that because they killed a bunch of people and tried to kill a whole bunch more. But
they were just misled, Roger.
But what makes them different than any other quote unquote good white kid?
Roger, they're just like normal people. They're normal people, Roger. They just made a mistake, and this is what they've learned growing up, man. They've had good parents, a good life. They're good kids, Roger.
Yeah. And you got a woman, you got a woman with a prom date. I don't know if what her age is, but she's 17, 18. You got a prime date buying them guns so they can carry stuff out. You got them ordering pipe bomb materials, but hey, they in high school, they probably just students. We, ain't no real red flags here. Heck, one of them got a dad in the military. We don't need to really investigate this at all. When somebody presses the issue of investigating, what do? They say right at the last second, man, why we tripping? We ain't really got to search their home. These are good white kids. Why go through the trouble? Why waste the tax dollars? This is America, man. This is how white kids have always been treated, and truth be told, it's probably how they always gonna be treated. When white kids ain't treated this way, we all in trouble.
Not only that, these are the leaders we're gonna need in the future, right?
Yeah,
So we just need to make sure we keep them safe so they can lead
we
us
we
where they
we
living
want
now.
we want to harness their anger and use it for our benefit, for our people. So hopefully I think they were kind of hoping to be able that maybe he could have went to the Marine Corps. That guy could have been an IT working in IT, and we can harness that whatever proclivity that they had to do this stuff for our greater benefit, so to speak.
Anybody ever heard of a guy named Dick Cheney, famous for shooting somebody in the face while he was a vice president? I wonder who pissed him off that day.
Well, my thing is, you just don't go hunting with a
I
especially a
mean,
vice president. But as a black man, you ain't supposed to be on no hunting
No,
trips anyway with them. I'm just gonna,
no,
I'm gonna
no,
just keep it
with
real.
them at all. There's no reason, no hunting trips, no wilderness excursions, no going to the lake. We seen Friday the 13th, and Jason, we don't. Just so you know, all the horror films that ever happened, all the cool ones were black, and that you could possibly survive. All the uncool ones that you would not survive were not black people. Just so you understand. So don't do it.
Yeah,
And I want to point out that these folks, nobody asked the question: how were they raised that they could do this? You realize nobody asked that question that whole time. What was their family like? Why? How were they raised like this? Nobody said anything
well,
about their parents' input on this.
I think they kind of knew, which is why they just kept pushing the idea that these was just some bully kids. Because
Good kids.
when this all happened, and like I said, I remember this in real time because it was an interesting story to me because it was kids just shooting up random people. So therefore, I automatically assumed it was some white kids. So let me go watch it real quick and see what's going on. And yeah, it just happened to turn out to be a bunch of white kids. So I think if you don't have white privilege, you don't really get this stuff done anyway. You got to have a certain level of people got to kind of look the other way for you to get something like this done. Okay. And then they just moseyed on to the school and it wasn't even no big deal. That's the crazy part. This wasn't even no big deal. They just went right up to the school. Hey, the bomb didn't go off. Let's just start popping these people off. And it is what it is. I also find it interesting that the SWAT team, I don't remember the SWAT team ever going inside the school to get them. And what is the usual reason SWAT was set up and not go in? Because they're not killing people. This situation, they got there and they're already killing people. Why didn't the SWAT team just go in there and get them? Well, then I factor, they white people. Now, if I was doing it, sure, they'd come get me, but they already killing people, so what's the point of not going in?
They was just misunderstood, Roger. They was just misunderstood.
You know what? I'm going to say there was a lot of problems in this situation when you really go back and look on this. And there's probably a lot of people probably should have been punished that weren't, because like I'm being dead serious, y'all. You on a SWAT team. You're in this small town. So in small towns like this, a lot of kids go to the same school. So when you heard people, if you watch the video that I put in the description, that you heard people saying, yeah, my daughter was at the same school. That's because a lot of people go to the same school in a small town. They may only have one or two high schools. So now you got your own kids in trouble. The people in there, you're getting the reports. They are already killing people. If I'm on a SWAT team, what is my point of staying outside?
You misunderstanding these good white folk, man. They were evangelists. Didn't you hear somebody say that they were overheard asking the girl, did she know the Lord before they sent the tour maker? They was introducing people to Jesus right then. That's what they were doing.
Yeah, man. I don't think y'all. I don't think we fully understand what we really here dealing with, man. Like I think I may have said once before. If you ever deal with Japan, right? Japan is a real rapey kind of culture, bro. Like I don't know if you actually ever go there and visit, but they got a real kind of that's the vibe there, right? But if you actually check their history, it checks out, right? You dealing with white folk. White folk got a very quote unquote psychopathic culture, right? They like to call it as warrior culture, but nah, it's a psychopathic culture, right? And if you actually check their history, it's all in there, right? And at the end of the day, I think holistically, as a group, I don't think people understand that this is the mentality of these people. And that's going to continue to be their mentality. This is their cultural values, bro. And people don't change their cultural values. They have to be broken from their cultural values. So, and then once like, I don't know how this world is probably going to necessarily go about doing it, but it's going to be a very interesting world in the next couple of years. I'm going ahead and jump back.
They've been killing people since they've been handing out blankets to the Indians, and they ain't stopped yet, bro. They ain't gonna
Shit,
stop.
they ain't stopped yet, bro. They ain't stopped yet, bro. You're right.
Well, I'm saying they do some interesting stuff at times because again, for me, it's just a very interesting thing that the SWAT team got there, kind of got set up and didn't just storm the school. Because I totally understand you got hostages, and you don't want to go inside the school and then create a situation where people are getting killed. But if the kids who come out to school are telling you, and keep in mind, y'all, this is like early cell phone days. But it seemed to be a lot of white kids with cell phones because, so this is not like a broke group of people. This is early cell phone days. You know what I'm saying? So this is 99. This is when cell phones was just really kind of being out there to masses of people. But they already got theirs. So that's telling me how well these people are doing.
I had my StarTech Motorola back then, Raj.
I think the SWAT team was being consistent. They're just like gangsters. Armed people like to shoot at unarmed people. They do not like shooting at armed people, bro.
They don't, but you know what? When the armed people are a different race, that's suddenly changed. They shoot first, ask questions later. I've seen it with my eyes.
Bro.
Not when it's an active shooting. They wait till it's over. They wait till you run out of bullets.
So
I'm gonna say this, man. I can assure you this much, right, bro? It don't matter if it's a special team, special forces, or SWAT, bro. If you had, let's say, a shootout to go out, let's say, in Mexico or Texas or whatever, bro. They had one Pacific one. I think it was either Florida or Texas, bro. They didn't quote it. They had a SWAT team about 100-something folk, bro. They didn't send the SWAT team in there to go get that one black man. They sent a bomb in there. They sent a bomb in there to go get him, bro. Now, granted, they had another video when it's quote unquote. I think what is it? White kids out there slaughtering their kids like chickens, bro. They ain't go in there and do nothing, bro.
Well, the point I'm making is that the people in there is already killing people.
Exactly.
Usually, you hold off because you're trying to save lives.
Right.
So the fact that they're already in there killing people.
If you hear gunshots, if they hear gunshots, they're going in. They're not waiting because this is how it works. If there are hostages and there are gunshots being fired inside where the hostages are, and your forces are outside, you're going inside. That's what their rules are of engagement.
I can give
they
you
don't
10
wait
cases.
outside.
All we saying is, right, we got at least 10 cases that we can go down.
Name them.
We can go there.
Hold fast. Let me get the super chats in. We ain't got about this. Shout out to Bad Black Gamer. He says the white people plus B's, and I think he means blacks, is normal and diabolical to others. And shout out to Elder Blood as well. He says if the black man wins the war, against all white men, then they return home to live with the black woman, juiced up with the milk of magnesium kids. Did the black man win? Well,
stupid.
He is for that one. He is for that one. But this, again, y'all, didn't really have black folks involved. It was one young gentleman named Isaac who they specifically went after because he was black. But this is not a very black area. This is a small town with a bunch of white folks. And the thing is, white people did not get a hold to these two white high schoolers in order to get something out of them. Because yeah, you put them 4 years into the future. Maybe one is in the military. Maybe one is graduating and starting an internship or a new job with a tech company. And maybe today they're a decorated military veteran with somebody who's a CEO. That's very well possible. You know what I'm saying? Because we're thinking about it. They were 17 and 18 in 99. So what would they be, about 27 years later? They could be very decorated in the different avenues that they went. They might be very celebrated white people at this particular time. But at the end of the day, white people wouldn't control them. And because they wouldn't control them, they tried to off about 500 people. And I do want people to remember them shooting at people was not the default plan. It was because plan A didn't work. Now I don't know about y'all, but I've never heard of a black person, because I just don't think that's who our people are. We don't just go after random people like this, and we definitely don't go after at the level of I'm trying to take 500 of them out, because they kind of pissed me off a little bit. These are not struggling teenagers. These kids are fine. They saw the Matrix movie and called themselves the Trench Coat Mafia. How do you see the Matrix movie and be able to call yourself the Trench Coat Mafia? Because you got money. You can go out and you can kick it. And you can do the stuff that you want to do. You're not struggling at all. When I was young, wasn't no really going to the movies. The first time I went and seen the movie and I was with the whole family. We went to a drive-in and we saw Batman. That was the first movie I could ever even remember going to.
Do you guys remember? Do you guys remember the Uvalde school shooting? It was another white guy shooting up a school, and the officer refused to go in. They put that dude on trial. Y'all remember that?
I do remember that. Yeah,
It's
I
so
remember
many
that one.
school shootings.
Oh, that's the what down in Texas? Is that Texas, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. They put that dude on trial. He wouldn't go in.
It was the same thing in Florida. The school offices, they didn't want to go in either.
Well, I'm gonna say this.
Parkland.
It's
I used to
only
live by there though. I used to live up the street from.
it's
when that
only
happened.
two white kids. Okay, they're two white high school students. Them not going in don't make sense to me, because the white kids had the cell phone. They was calling. They know what's going on. The information's getting to the SWAT team. You can't tell me that these kids got cell phones. They're literally calling while they're at school, and nobody's telling them it's two guys. It's Eric and Dylan. Eric and Dylan is shooting at us. So you got a number and everything. Now, I'm not going to say it wasn't no quote-unquote conflicted information coming in, as they said in the video, but let's be realistic about this. If you're a couple of students at the school and you're seniors, not only does your own class know you, some of the juniors know exactly who you are. Some of the sophomores know exactly who you are. And even some of the freshmen know who you are. They know what was going on in that school. They just didn't go.
It's particularly egregious because of some of the things that Black Uru articulated. They had all kinds of background information on these guys. They had all kinds of incidences with these guys. They had already painted the picture of who they were, profiled them, and everything. It's like they just let them do it. That's what I'll never be able to figure out.
They let it. They do that a lot, actually. A lot of like Jeffrey Dahmer should have got caught before. I mean, they do this quite often for them kind of folk.
Absolutely.
Well,
sometimes
they can foresee it, and they just
sometimes they actually facilitate it as well.
Yeah, that too.
Well, I'm gonna say, if you come up there as a SWAT team and you got all these guns and extra gear, and you supposed to be the squad that handle the real business, at some point in time, I got to accept that you agree with it.
Roger, they have to collect the Oh, wait a minute. They have to for protection. I can't think of the word right now. Complexion for protection, and that's what happens to white folks. They get protected from many, 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 many things. They almost have to really, really, really make, constantly do things to get held accountable.
I mean, and I do understand that in a regular situation, but this is where kids are active shooters at a school. Now, I'm just gonna say, if I'm in a black town with a bunch of black people in power, and even if it is some black kids shooting up the school, and my black child is in there, I'm going in. That's all I'm saying.
All right, you see, you're not thinking like them. See, you could make more if you thinking like them. There's plenty more to come. It's like what's that cartoon? Dude is the alien, and he just trying to make babies to take over planets. You can make more kids, Roger. It's okay.
He talking about invisible.
Yeah, you can make more kids. You got to worry about these niggas that's lost. Just make more. That's all. Because think about it. Not only that, just think about the damage that this does. It helps actually breed more kids like this. And some of them are going to become adults, and some of them is going to do some crazy stuff, but be a bit on the DL. And then, system keeps moving.
All right, now I got to give a shout out to Roastmaster One, y'all. This is odd. This is very odd. Roastmaster One, shout out to you, brother. He hit me with $30. Now the odd part is it said yesterday, and it literally just showed up. I don't know what the heck going on, but if y'all send me something and I'm slow about saying it, I don't know what that is. It literally just showed up, and it said yesterday.
I gotta send Roger some funds for his glasses again.
No, bro. This ain't got nothing to do with that. This is literally yesterday. The crazy part is it say 11:43. So I'm like, okay, something just came in. I missed it a couple minutes ago, and then I'm opening it up. It say yesterday at 11:43, and I just checked this. I done checked it like 8-9 times during the show, so I know it wasn't there. But shout out to Roastmaster One. Appreciate you, my brother. Appreciate you, my brother. Big time. Real talk. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Now, my thing is, white people, like I say, y'all, I deal with them from an individual standpoint. As a collective, I don't really think I'm safe or really even want to hang around white people. They just into stuff that I'm just not into at the end of the day. Some of them, it seems like more of them are kind of gay, and I'm not gay, so I'm not going to hang out with a man who's looking at men. Some of them are kind of more into devil worship, as far as I can tell. I'm a person that believes stuff that the Bible says, so I don't want to hang out with devil worshipers. I'm totally fine with killing people, but I'm not okay with murder. So anybody who just wants to murder somebody, I don't really want to talk to you like that for real. So there's different things. Now, I ain't said I wouldn't talk to no white people at all, because I have. As long as you cool, I'm good with you. It's just, hanging out with a bunch of white people, that ain't necessarily my cup of tea. And there's been too many stories of dead black men who hung out with a group of white men or a group of white people. I ain't trying to take it. I only got one life here, so I ain't trying to take chances with them.
Let me emphasize, and I guess unsupervised white people criteria here in this particular, regarding this particular incident. Okay, 3 guns used in the attack were purchased by Klebold's prom date, Robin K. Anderson. According to the FTA, the Federal Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, Anderson, 18, purchased 2 shotguns and a rifle at a gun show in December, a few months prior to the shooting. Under Colorado law, an 18-year-old may purchase shotguns or rifles and give them to minors. Anderson has been considered a witness in the case, not a suspect, and has not been charged. That's unsupervised white folks for y'all right there. Yeah. That's unsupervised white folks for y'all.
And this is why I call the series Unsupervised White Folks. When white folks got the room to
So
do what they want to do.
now let me follow up with Reset. Now, Reset. Can you see any scenario where Negroes would be able
Absolutely
to buy
not.
up shotguns and rifles and give them? You see the point we're making? You see why we make that kind of point?
When you articulated the answer, you gave me exactly the answer I've been looking for over the years. Like, I'm not looking for an excuse. I'm not none of that stuff. I was trying to figure out like what's our real angst, like what's our real position, and you were able to articulate the position in a fact that makes me understand the angst that we truly have. I understand like the system is broken, and you're able to articulate it in a way that I can understand exactly what's broken and why. And nobody had ever articulated it before.
Well, it depends on how you define broken. I don't think the system is broken. I think the system gets the exact results it gets. It wants to be able to pick winners and losers, and that's why it's structured to do so. In a state, for example, like Colorado, that might be 95% or whatever white, you're going to have rules like that because we want white people to be able to grab up as many guns as they willing to buy, right? But in a different environment.
No,
I'm
I
just
was going to
saying,
say to put up.
but you go.
Go ahead and finish.
I'm just saying the important racial element, like I say, the system is set up to get the results that it get. Now, this was a glitch in the matrix. This event wasn't a glitch in the matrix. But the whole 18-year-old girlfriend being able to buy up guns and give it to a 17-year-old boyfriend, no, that's what the system wants to do. Now, it wants to do that for white people. I doubt it wants to do that for black people. I think if we're talking about black people, that white girl, that black girl, it does some federal time for some sort of conspiracy or something.
And that's what I was going
I'm
to
just
say.
not certain of that.
I know somebody personally doing 30 years for conspiracy for buying a gun and giving it to somebody, and that somebody shot somebody.
That's exactly what happened here. They didn't even charge the girl. She's never even considered a suspect.
It's insane, man.
That's unsupervised white people.
Yeah. And of course, they never say we want this to be allowed for black people or we don't want this to be allowed for black people. I mean, for white people. They just say, hey, we're going to approve this for this particular state. It's just so having a state is basically a white state.
This particular state, this particular county, under this particular zip code, or any kind of scenario where it triangulates into white supremacy, that's what we're going to enable. When it doesn't triangulate, or if it gets murky, then we're going to have a different set of rules. We're going to have a different set of rules in Chicago. We're going to have a different set of rules in Philadelphia.
Yeah, the numbers are in. White folks commit crime and don't get prosecuted. It's just, those are the numbers. The numbers are a lot of people, they just don't even prosecute them. They just let them go.
Well, and that's why the numbers would technically never really be in. Because it's designed so the numbers won't be in. And shout out to Joe's. He says,
these guys committed several crimes. They committed several crimes. I cited several crimes. None of those crimes are going to appear in any FBI statistics. None of them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why you can't even believe the crime stats. You can't believe the crime stats in terms of providing a accurate and fair and complete presentation of crime. No, this one case proves that the crime statistics are are not valid.
Bullshit. Yeah, yeah. They
Even with
supposed
all that,
they supposed
even with all, go ahead, go ahead.
they supposed to be doing. They supposed to have done a significant amount of time well before the shooting actually occurred. They had all the evidence. They had
Hmm.
everything they needed to arrest them, prosecute them, and make sure that they were locked up. And it's just they simply did not do it.
Their parents were allowed to quote pay for some, spa treatment for a couple of months, and where they get to pretend that everything's okay. But like I say, even as the one boy was coming out of the program, he was talking about suicidal and homicidal thoughts, even as he was being released from the program.
And the crazy part is he's putting a name on it. Like I'm gonna kill this dude especially. He's
Damn.
putting a name on it. But y'all, let me get the super chat in because we got one more guest. Shout out to Jones again. He says there is a reason why the FBI shares with the public that suspect was known when something goes down. The system is human. They pick and choose. And I'm gonna agree with that 100%. 100%. That's real talk. 100%. Okay. But we got Jay Moore who's coming up, y'all. So Jay Moore, who's showing up at 2 hours and 50 minutes into the broadcast because he just want to do it that way. He think he's somebody now. That's what it is. He think he's somebody. But go ahead, Jay Moore.
Well, Roger, I'm me, and there's nobody in this world more important than me. That's the only thing I know. But I wanted to bring up. Like what's it called? I was here earlier. I forgot who said it. It was about like being in the Marine Corps and stuff. And you hear like these guys talking about like the reason why they joined the Marine Corps and stuff. I'm an ex-Marine, right? And yeah, that dude was so right because when I was in there, every like a lot of these white boys in there. This is what kind of started getting me terrified and like because it was like, yeah, man, oh yeah, I joined just to kill some people. I'm like, what the fuck? And then like, what was it called? Like when we have like our what's it called? Our mass, like basically everybody, in formation. When we have our formation, and like our higher ups is having one of these speeches and stuff like because I was infantry and stuff. It's like, oh, we about to go and kill people, blah 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 blah, and you supposed to say, yeah, rah, all this other stuff. At first, I was kind of saying rah, but I was like, no. And then the years on while I'm in there, I'm slowly just becoming quieter and quieter. I'm just really looking around. I'm like, I'm surrounded by psychopaths. I really am surrounded by a bunch of demons. Like these people are crazy as hell. They proud like they look like they getting their nuts off just wanting to go and kill some people and shit. I'm just like, yeah, I gotta get out of here. And it's
Jay.
like, yeah.
No, Jay Moore, that's why I brought it up, man. These were grunts that I was talking to. These were grunts, man. And I saw just like I can look in their eyes and I can see it, man. But it's sanctioned though, so it's cool. But it's sanctioned, by the government.
Yeah.
I get it, but yeah, definitely.
You gotta put your killers somewhere because if you don't have control over them, you gonna wait. Say it again. Sorry.
Well, I mean, can you have an effective military without that being a significant element?
No.
I don't think.
No, and that's why I'm like, I understand that and I get that, but at the same time, when you're really looking at this thing and you're logically looking at it, and it's like you're about to go and kill, people. You're about to destroy some families to do all that stuff, and you just see like how much these people have no soul and don't even really think about it. They just want to go out there. I'm like, damn.
Close your eyes, and recall what you have read of European and American history and European American literature. Why all of it is killing. All of it is slaughter.
Yeah.
Everything. What part of it is not killing? What part of Shakespeare is not killing and slaughter? For example, Julius Caesar, Othello. What part of it is not killing? What part of all the so-called great European kings and what part of it is not killing, thousands of people and destroying tribes. And what part of every European country is a product of tribes being killed, villages being killed, and then whoever is left being forced to submit to whatever king, and then that king eventually being conquered by some other king, and then next thing you know, you got Wales. Well, then the Welsh king is killed. Then next thing you know, you have England, and then the Northern Irish
Right.
people are killed. So then next thing you know, you have so-called quote Great Britain. All of it's
But
killing.
Uru. But my thing is this, right? I was a young dude, and like when we were young, you really didn't think too much about it. And so when the
You was
older I
naive,
got,
bro.
yeah, I was naive to the whole entire thing. And then like the older I got, the more knowledge I got and everything, I'm just starting I'm just growing up. And I'm finally growing up. I'm looking at this stuff. I'm like, yeah, this is wrong. And I'm just looking at it, I'm like, nah, this is
And
right for
I'm
them.
saying that white man you are looking at, that's the same guy who came over here on boats and was killing and eating native people they found. And I mean, those are them people, man.
So,
Those are them people.
you talking to his grandson.
Klebold and Harris, they're descendants of those people. That shit is minor compared to what they've done historically.
That's Jennifer.
I mean,
Uru. And
even
the
their
other thing too is just like,
whole
I
fact,
didn't
whole fact,
got
because I
it.
got a super chat. I'm gonna say even their greatest love story ends in the death, the death of the two main characters. Even their greatest love story. Shout out to a Sarah B. She said, "Post-it, you said." Gotcha. Yep, that's what I said, and I'm glad you got it. Appreciate you, Sarah. Appreciate you. Real talk. So yeah, I mean, even their greatest love story ends with the two main characters are dead, and I'm referring to Romeo and Juliet for anybody who didn't catch it. Okay, that's what they world is.
I mean, but
And
Hamlet,
like that's when you kind of realize how,
Hamlet,
you're not
death, Othello, death, King Henry V, death,
Hamlet.
all these Shakespearean
Yeah.
plays, man. Macbeth, which is my favorite Shakespearean play, killed his cousin who was the king so he can become king, and he ends up getting killed by I mean, that's what they do, man.
They
And,
romanticize shit.
and when you look at European history in particular, in most cases, at the top level, they were killing brothers and cousins and uncles, and because all the aristocrats were all related anyway.
And that's what I was going
So,
to bring
so
up. Don't
shooting
forget
up a
to add in
school
their
is
fables.
nothing when I'm capable of killing up my own people. Even the Civil War was brothers killing brothers in
Yep.
Kentucky and brothers in Missouri. Even that was so killing white people killing white
I
people,
think
man, we ain't
we
even got into the world wars. I
we
mean,
That's
we
part of their cultural
I
values, bro.
think I think we get lulled to sleep because of the in between. You know what I'm saying? When it seems civilized and we can go get Starbucks and jump on the internet and stuff. So I think black folks particularly, I think we kind of get lulled to sleep to where, you know what I'm saying? Especially you have the media broadcasting everything of some black person did. So it looks like, okay, we're the ones that's, doing all this stuff. But now I think we get lulled to sleep by the media and just being able to go get some, a mocha latte or something like that. Man, we get lulled to sleep sometimes.
Yeah,
A
I
lot of
I
the
When you
agree
time.
don't get
because
low, when you don't get lulled to sleep at, if you go to the woods with the motherfuckers, that's when your primal instincts wake up real quick and be like, I don't think I want to be here with you in the middle of the night in the
No.
woods or
The
Yes,
anything.
sir.
scary part, the scary part about this whole Columbine incident was for them. It was just Tuesday, bro.
Literally,
Yep.
I mean,
literally, it
what
was
do
just
y'all are
Tuesday.
we surprised though? Like, I mean, realistically, are we surprised that the United States harnessed their psychopaths? That they harness their warriors, right? And they don't care if they let them loose on you. Actually, you're target practice. Let's be
Well,
for real. You're totally
yo,
right.
I don't think they're really psychopaths. This is when, like, Uru's saying comes up, like, and if I had thought about this before, it's like I don't really think these motherfuckers are humans. Sometimes, like these guys, the way how they go
Psychopaths are
about
not
it
human,
is
bro.
it's not
Hold on, hold
even,
on, hold
dude.
on,
Even
hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on, bro. What I'm telling you, bro, is right. After you go through enough psychological damage, bro, you no longer become human, bro. Like what I'm basically telling you, that they have an anti-life culture, bro. When I tell you, when I say black women have an anti-life culture, I'm serious about that. Because where did they get them cultural values from? They got them from Caucasians, bro. They have an anti-life cultural values. When I say that shit, y'all really think I'm lying when I say that I'm not.
All right, now we gonna close the show because you got to hit the 3-hour mark, y'all. All right. It's been a great show, if you ask me. Great Black Reset asked an interesting question. I'm just gonna say, y'all, white people ain't got nothing to do with black folks. Not in every
That's
scenario. Not in every scenario. Not in every
that's not
scenario.
that's not why I asked that
I ain't
question.
even trying to say. I
I
ain't even trying to say that's why you asked it, but I'm not trying to say
don't
that.
don't don't
Okay.
beat up on me. Don't beat up on me,
No,
brother. I bared my ignorance on air. I bared
brother,
my
I
soul and
wasn't
my
even.
ignorance.
I was not even going at you, brother. I was not even going at you. I said it was a good, legitimate question to ask. That's what I said when you brought it up. But I just want to remind people, yeah, everybody ain't so wrapped up into what white people doing. And we're gonna do more and more unsupervised white people because it's a great, great series, and we're gonna have some more of it, you know. And actually, I'm considering doing a few more of them this month, just because I know the show programmer. Me and him real cool. Okay, so he let me get away with what I want to get away with. So you might see one come up again real soon. So, but y'all gonna have to wait to see. But it's been a great show. If y'all are new to the channel, if you want to get access to the best show on social media, we do this at 9 a.m. Monday through Friday, Chicago time. I advise you to subscribe while you can. Y'all have a good rest of y'all day. Make sure y'all hit that like button. Long live the habitual line steppers. I'm Roger. I'm right. And I'm out.